What's happening? All right. We're getting started.
Ah!
Don't worry too much about it. Just relax. Not that much. I hit that like. I don't know. How do people feel about this House Sparks character? I'm curious.
Sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
I agree, but what about the rest of the people? Oh yeah, that's true.
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, I drank what?
All right. Getting close. Hit that like. Just a few moments.
Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
I will.
Every minute you don't tell us why you're here, I cut off a finger.
Mine or yours?
Yours.
Damn.
I'm a dude playing that dude disguised as another dude.
A lot of very bad things are happening in Nicaragua.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat a-hole?
They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
I do it because I have, like, a good memory, because I'm cognitively there. An anomalous, really an anomalous.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
Purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. What you're doing?
Asshole. He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it.
Michigan gave us Motang. They don't like the gas. Criminal. Look, wait. Free health care for illegal. Look. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges. Action replays in magnified fortune. Here I am like an idiot. I know words. I had the best words. I was a private business people. Here I am like an idiot. Winston Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill. He meant explosive in terms of fire. 10,000 known or suspected gang members. You know, I told the U.S. Marshals to go get the man who killed another man. Here I am like an idiot.
I feel like I should DJ the Sexy Liberal show just with those sound drops as people come in. Agree? Disagree? What do you think? Should I do a poll inside the chat? Let's see. Oh, dear. I don't. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. I'm so glad that you're here. I mean, don't you think it sounds like a lot of fun if we were doing the Sexy Liberal, which, by the way, there's the little thing for it. We're coming to your town or a town within a 3-hour drive. I'm trying. I want to go everywhere. Talk to Steph. Provide them with Live Nation venues nearby and note to Steph, and she'll forward it to people, and then they will put it in a shredder or something. But I desperately want to, if I can't go with them and I can't go with Nerd Halen, I will be there on my own doing stand-up. We are working on new representation for that, because for many of you know that my agency was consumed in a fire. Actually, it was eaten by a larger whale that choked on it and nearly like killed both of them. Basically, there's just remnants left. Anyways, I needless to say, I've been a free agent ever since. Free of an agent, anyways. And thanks to you, lovely people, and the fact that, oddly enough, after I left my agency, I have never been this busy. Because basically, they just represented people like for stand-ups and live performance, essentially, because I get all my acting gigs because people call me up and go, "We like you. Will you please do this?" And I go, "Yes." Sometimes I say no, but most of the time I say. But in this particular instance, like between Nerd Halen, Sexy Liberal, and my own stand-up, my dance card is pretty goddamn full. It's impressive, but bigger and better. We always seek more, and it would be nice to know that my kid's college is paid for by the time he, reaches that age. So that's what I'm shooting for. Always. No one who has a child has like rando money, right? Until that's cleared. Good. Oh yeah. By the way, thanks for spotting that this is a Real Genius shirt. A bunch of people were asking earlier on the morning show, and I didn't get to address it because Phil and I were talking about such a serious topic. It seemed like a little bit of a sideline. But this is, for those that don't know, this is the crossbow project. There's no defense like a good offense, which was the secret laser program, basically Jewish space lasers without the Jews. That was the major plot point behind the instructor at Caltech, their version of Caltech, Pacific Tech, using the genius of these kids to create a weapon. Val Kilmer is a genius in it, and he's lovely, and it's just one of my favorite things. And I have my I Love Toxic Waste shirt, and sometimes I feel like I wear it too often. Now, granted, I have 6 of them. Honestly, I have 6 I Love Toxic Waste shirts because they were my stage uniform when I would do stand-up. So I would wear I have 5 pairs of the same jeans, and always that. My cheeks are not rose. Oh yeah, I'm getting like a lot of things that I look very red and flushed. I'm running because I can only run one thing without my shit crashing. I'm running myself through the filter thing that I make faces on, and it modifies my camera and makes it oversaturated in some ways. So like if I look up, my neck doesn't look nearly as red. But if I look down, see how red my neck looks? But if I look up, it just stops. Okay, because it just peaks the wrong reds. I will fix that later. But just pretend I'm a Campbell Soup kid. It's all right. But it's if without it, it's the only, I can't have guests on the show, okay? Just know that. If you got a choice. You can have not Rosie Hall, or you can go without me. Now, sometimes I do indeed blush. That happens because I am white, as they say. And I guess there are people of color, and then there are multicolored people. I would be one of the multicolored people. I have several different colors, and they change all the time. It's fantastic. It's just it's just in my genes or whatever. It's my flexible melanin or something, and blood flow. So yes, I'm very hot-blooded. It's true. You know this absolutely. Don't forget. Now, couple things right out of the gate. Chat room. Let's see the filter that. Hal Skittles Taste the Rainbow. It's you can, but it'll cost you $29.95. Oh, and the Major got burned down. To see he's multicolored as well. He's got a lot of where all this. It's a rosacea. It is. It's a rosacea filter. Absolutely. Kids are super expensive. My wife cheated out with me. I'll always know that they love me. Dumb sisters about okay, blah. Let's see. That is true. If you that you get to see a stand-up show for free every month if you're a Patreon subscriber. And I'm going to do my best to film my sets, because it will change all the time during the Sexy Liberal Tour, because there's always new news stories and we're always writing fresh stuff. And some of the stuff is going to be awesome, and yet if you're not in that town, you might not see those jokes that weekend. So I'm going to film my sets, and then the stuff that I don't continue to do on the road, because I don't want to blow it for anybody who sees what I'm doing, then, a week later or 2 weeks later, I'll post the jokes that I don't, I'm not going to carry on, or don't, or aren't as topical, as it were. So anyways, patreon.com/HalSparks. Also the Venmosing. You can buy me a cup of coffee if you feel like it. You're like, hey, I like that guy. I use Venmo. Sure, why not? Here's $2.12, you psychopath. Do that. That's fine. Take the $2.12. I don't know why I chose that number. It's the 666 challenge. Send $6.66 to Venmo via that thing. Just take a picture with your phone and you can send it there to get enough. All right, I'm not doing any more.
They said, oh.
I know. They get very excited when I do that. I'm not going to do any more advertisements for the show.
You are watching HalSparks Megaworldwide, and we're glad you're along for the ride. Every day Hal is here by your side, so please would you like and subscribe?
That's all I ask. Just hit that like, hit that subscribe. You know what I'm doing. All right. Feel it. Don't be afraid. And all right, first up, one of the big things, the big stories today, if I may, right out of the gate, is, first of all, you guys know I have a couple of pet peeves when it comes to social, media in general, I would just say. Let's just say even big media, even big Hollywood films. The misuse of my name, Hal. Oftentimes, dweeby characters are named Hal, not incredibly charming, funny, intellectual giants, but, just assholes, ex-husbands and shit like that. Always, I don't know what it is, but that seems to be one of the running things. Shallow Hal and all that. All right. But whatever. The other thing is that my name often, my last name, shows up in the title of things. Often like, sparks fly as blah, blah, blah. Sparks, sparks are gonna fly, which I'm totally fine with as well, except when it's, dealing with people that I don't like. And one of those things came up, and I'll show you this right now. This is ironically enough, I'll tell you something. This is the title. Sparks fly as major FISA reform bill is debated in House Rules Committee. Okay. No, they kind of don't. Okay. It's a committee. It's 2.5 hours long. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I've got a little clip I was going to show you. But if you were looking at this picture, what would you draw from this? Are these two men arguing? Is Jim Jordan on the Rules Committee, and he is arguing with this fellow who is from the FBI or the FISA something? He's administrator. Or is this guy on the thing and he's asking Jim Jordan questions about this stuff? Now, keen-eyed viewers like myself will look at this and go, that is clearly what they want me to think, that these two guys are fighting, and one of them is on the committee and the other one's a witness, or vice versa, right? That's what you draw. Until you look at the evacuation picture behind their head. Anybody else notice that? Yeah, it's basically a slight different angle of the same picture. Yeah, so they're, wherever they are, they're sitting next to each other, is what you can determine from this, okay? Also, this is, I discovered what is effectively going on with this whole Forbes breaking news thing, is that there's Forbes, which has its own check mark and is a official YouTube channel for the Forbes magazine. Pretty, rudimentary in terms of its news coverage. It's little stories and kind of put together pieces like the New York Times. And then there's Forbes breaking news, which is always very kind of oddly pro-Trump and full of clickbaity titles and shit like that, okay? And I was like, what the fuck is the difference? And then I realized after a little bit that Forbes itself has their own channel. And then Steve Forbes has his own channel. And he has a stake in Forbes. So all the links to, sign up for Forbes and all that kind of stuff go directly to that, right? So like that's why I was always like, it looks like legit links in the bottom of it. So, but it's not Forbes the channel. Well, it's because Steve Forbes has his own semi-private versions website, and they or YouTube channel, and they just that's where he dumps clips that or his people do or whatever his organization. And the reason I found this out is because he recently posted a video himself on there for one of I haven't seen one in a long time, but he posted one of himself on this site that's like him clearly at his office, and which is very different from what the other channel does. So this is basically Steve Forbes' pet project, just so you know. Mr. Flat Tax, full of shit, and the guy who was, hey, they checked us, Trump, we just didn't look, he snuck around, he kind of, he checkmated us rather, we thought he was a billionaire, anybody can make that mistake. He made a funny voice, he called us up, we put him on the list, he made money and got loans he didn't deserve because he was on our list, and they used it as evidence. Obviously, they used our reputation as like a shield to his bullshit. It could happen to anybody. That's Steve Forbes. So anyways, here we go. Now, this is a conversation. We've heard a bunch of this shit. Like, there's a bunch of these videos. Let me show you what's going on here. This is, oh, good. There she is. I'm coming up. I'm coming up. We've got a video that we're going to show. I'm coming up. I'm Harriet from Wyoming. I don't know my... Oh, hi. That's like, ow. I'm Harriet. So, she's got a video. This one is, I support FISA reform, constraints on FBI, Harriet Hagman. Okay? She's on Twitter. Then, spying on Americans? Congress will allow you to, the FBI to spy on you, but not them. And I think there was one more. That's Eric Trump. Let's see. Yeah. So there were a bunch of other ones, but these are the two that I thought were the most humorous. It's the same shit over and over again, so I try to find the most humorous and annoying versions of them. But this is the actual news, the real news part of it. This is the 2.5-hour committee hearing. They're going through this shit, again, about this modification that they want to make to the FISA warrant system. And here's what it is. The intelligence services have FISA, they have FISA courts, and they get a warrant to listen to to wiretap the leader of Hamas, or a operative, or a spy, or a member of a foreign cabinet, or something like that is suspected of spying for the Kremlin. And since they're not Americans, they don't have constitutional protections. We can spy on them. We still set up a court where we have to ask permission. Because just because they're foreigners, Americans somehow were like, even though they're foreigners, they should have some kind of like respectful rights. Which, by the way, in the scope of the world is fucking bananas. Like no other country. None. Even our like democratic allies don't have hard rules like that. Like, Jesus Christ, where do you think the whole MI6 007 shit came from? The license to kill and all that. Like, they made that decision after World War II. They're like, we're a long bus ride from a lot of people who want to kill us. Fuck that. When in America, we're like, we got a couple of oceans. We're good. So we can give them, we'll give them a little bit of room. Okay? We even that, even to spy on the leader of Hamas, we have to go and ask a court for permission. That's fucking amazing. Think about that for a second. Just consider that idea. We have to what? Like our intelligence services know someone is literally just like a hitman for the fucking ISIS. And technically speaking, we have to go and ask permission to listen in on that person's phone calls, even though they do not technically have the protections of the Constitution, and even in their own countries do not have those protections in their own countries, right? I think, technically speaking, the rules should be set by the, with a certain amount of give and take and respect for the reality, that they should be set based on the rules of the other country. If that country has very strong rules about governments spying on their own citizens, it should be harder for us to spy on their citizens. Cool? But if they spy on all their citizens all the time, I don't know why we would have to ask permission. Yeah? Okay. It's just as a baseline idea. So here we go. This is a back and forth. By the way, these guys are both on the same panel in this. Let me see. Okay. Now, unlike most of the hearings that we look at, where most people get 5 minutes, I guess they can just let whatever committee member go on for fucking ever. Because Thomas Massey from Kentucky not only asks some of the dumbest fucking questions I've heard in a long time, and he's really trying to go after this, like, Carter Page was spied on, therefore so was Trump thing. But this is the beginning of his questioning. And this guy, I'm blitzing on his name, explains the rules. Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Because this is what all those other clips are based on. Okay, consider this a House Park special report.
Let's see. So, Mr. Turner, Chairman Turner, you said there are 250,000 targets overseas, and your character.
Okay, he says, by the way, this is leading in from something else. There are approximately 250,000, he made a broad term, targets for surveillance in the world. Now, keep in mind, between Russia, North Korea, Iran, ISIS, China, the Saudis, I don't know, whatever fucking, corporate spies out of fucking Cyprus or whatever. That's not a big number. There's 8 billion people on the fucking planet. It's, and it's a rolling thing. So it's not always the same number. So 250,000 people is not a lot.
Characterize them. Okay, roughly. And you characterize them as heads of Hamas and heads of ISIS. Wouldn't there?
He also said he was making an example, I think, of heads of Hamas and heads of ISIS. Like, if somebody was talking to the head of ISIS or Hamas, we should have the right to go, hey, they seem pretty buddy-buddy. Why do we have to go let them know or let their lawyer know that we're listening in on a call like this when they're clearly conversing with someone we know is a terrorist?
Be other people as well? Could there, in fact, be people in Germany who are staffing the heads of state there? Or could?
And by the way, this is oddly specific coming from Massey with no backup.
Is there anything to prevent, for instance, members of parliament from being among those 250,000?
The category, which is a process by which the intelligence...
Also, this is kind of aggravating, and I apologize if Massey gets really loud after this. I'm going to have to boost the audio. This is so fucking Republican, but the people asking the questions are really loud, and the people who are answering are quieter.
The community goes to the FISA court and has the individuals who are subject to surveillance reviewed. Includes categories that also relate to national security threats, foreign intelligence threats, and so there are broader individuals. There are not, as I was indicating, we don't look at Paul McCartney. We don't look at the head of Airbus. We look at only those issues that are related to national security threats.
Mr. Massey, could I?
Yes, Mr. Nadler.
Foreigners do not have constitution.
Oh, by the way, Nadler, curiously enough, bless his heart, had a joint statement at the top of this thing with Jim Jordan. They worked on this FISA modification. And I got to say, listening to Nadler describe this and how he talks about it earlier in this thing, because there's a whole half hour, I'm trying to spare you that part of it. He seems to not really grasp the change that they're making to this law. It's curious. The law would make you have to get a secondary warrant for anybody who's in contact with with terrorist organizations and all this other stuff, just because they're an American citizen, when you've already gone to the FISA court to look at this, and it's a repeat offender, that kind of stuff.
Constitutional rights. Americans have constitutional rights, which is why we need the search amendment. If the intelligence community thinks that a member of parliament or a staff member of the German chancellor is spying for Putin or the Chinese communists, they can certainly surveil that person. And they may find that it's true, or it may not. They can surveil anybody who is not an American citizen without, under FISA. There's nothing to stop them, and there's no reason they should be stopped.
Okay. Two things. One, there's no reason they should be stopped as a matter of opinion. There is something to stop them. There are categories that they have to meet. They can't just surveil like foreigners because they feel like it.
Mr. Turner, so let me ask this again. Could a member of parliament in Germany or one of the executive branch bureaucrats in Germany be targeted under the FISA 702 program?
Absolutely.
May I?
Yeah, Mr. Himes.
Let me just make this point because it hasn't come out. The roughly 250,000 foreign targets must fall into one of several categories. They are counterproliferation, counterterrorism, foreign intelligence activities. If an individual doesn't fall into that category of suspicion, they could not be added to the target list.
There you go. So there is already a discretionary categorization. They have to, if you're going to surveil a foreign person, again, or someone with no constitutional rights, if you want to surveil them, they have to be in contact or deal with these three things to qualify. If they do qualify, you still have to get a FISA warrant about it. And then you have to go back and get there's a separate 702 is specifically about American surveillance.
So it's important that we understand that there is a filter that targets must pass through that indicates that they may be involved, they might be a foreign intelligence officer involved in proliferation or terrorism in order to get on that target list. So no, the government can't simply pick a minister of parliament in the UK or in Germany.
Vincent, what? It's not like the movies? Exactly.
And put them on the list without a justification in one of those categories.
Well, they've got 250,000 people. I just find it hard to believe there's that many heads of Hamas and heads of ISIS.
Okay, this is him being a dick. And the other part of this is, and this is what really sticks out to me, is that these motherfuckers seem really nervous. Him and Jim Jordan specifically seem like, wait a minute, can I get a list of everybody you guys are listening to? Because if I don't know, I've been calling a bunch of sketchy fuckers, and it's making me very nervous. Like that's how this reads. It's super fucking hinky, and he gets very, like I said, he gets very specific about certain people he's talking to, that he has some sort of idea that might be on the list for good reason.
Could a business person end up on this list for traveling to, let's say, Russia?
Why would you worry about that? A business person, let's say, traveling to Russia. I think what he's going for here is either a friend of his or a donor of Donald Trump's or Carter Page.
To work on some business deals and...
To work on some business deals. Well, the arms trade, yeah. Human trafficking, sure. Drugs, terrorism, yeah. If the business deal is giving them property in exchange for information, that works.
In Moscow.
It's technically business.
Well, to be clear, Mr. Massey, between Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, you probably have hundreds of thousands of intelligence officers who would be legitimate targets under the Foreign Officer of an Intelligence Service. A business person, just to answer your question, could only be put on the target list if they were suspected of being involved in terrorism, proliferation, or a foreign intelligence officer.
Right. And that would be the Carter Page part, by the way.
Can I
Go ahead, Chairman Turner.
One of the things that's difficult in all of these discussions is that, obviously there are a number of different intelligence programs and intelligence gathering arms of the United States government. We're dealing with 702. 702 is foreigners located abroad, of which there's national security interest. What you just described, for example, right now Russia is subject to sanctions. And if there is an individual who's an American who is currently violating those sanctions,
You mean like Betsy DeVos and Iran?
They could be subject to being caught up in surveillance of that Russian that they're doing business with because they're violating the law. That's not 702. We don't do sanction enforcement under 702.
So let's say.
One more second, and then we'll get to how they're responding.
I'm just pick a name. Mary Catherine sends 10,000 emails. She's an American, never been abroad, always.
He's making, this is his hypothetical.
Lived in the United States.
Mary Catherine, clearly a lovely Catholic woman, probably an abortion activist, wants bomb-making information, decides, like, she doesn't want to wear a suicide vest, but she likes the design, and she thinks, maybe I should just, phone Hezbollah or email somebody, related to ISIS, because they seem to know how that shit works, 3,000 or 4,000 times, something like that.
States. She sends 10,000 emails in a year, makes 2,000 phone calls, 5,000 texts, 500 direct messages on her social media platform. And let's say 0.1% of those
0.1% of those. I thought we were all going to do it together.
Are caught up in the FISA 702 program. Why wouldn't you need a warrant to go after those emails that are in the FISA program that were ostensibly collected in pursuit of a foreign agent? Why does Mary Catherine only have protection over some of her communications?
All right. Did you guys hear that? Did you guys grant that? She sends 10,000 emails a year. 0.1% of them were to people who were engaged in terrorism, human trafficking, arms sales, or were directly to or in communication with a foreign intelligence officer. I don't know, asshole. Maybe 9,000 of them are fucking spam. Maybe she has a giant newsletter and she's a psychopath, like QAnon weirdo, and she gets all of her talking points from the Kremlin. And she only needs a couple of emails a quarter to crank that shit out. What the fuck is why has she got even 0.1% out of, and it's a lot of emails too, 0.1% of her emails are directly with people that are engaged in like foreign influence campaigns in the United States or terrorism?
Well, it's the same as if you and I communicate. I mean, if I send an email to you and it's then in your data, it's not my data.
But what's the principle that requires you to get a warrant to search, all of that stuff, but not some of that stuff?
Oh dear God. Why do you have a warrant? Why are you allowed to look at all the shit she sent to the Iranian Republican Guard or whatever, but you don't get to see all of her school emails that for the I don't know, her school board position?
Well, again, it's not that stuff. It's because we're not searching Mary Catherine. If to search Mary's material, you
in the United States that isn't going to that person
would need a warrant, and you would need a warrant based upon probable cause, and that is, as I was saying to the ranking member, current law. Now, for those that she sends to individuals that are subject to surveillance, if she sends one to Vladimir Putin and it ends up in Vladimir Putin's data, again, I send an email to you, I'm in your data, that's no longer my data. You don't need a warrant if you're looking at Vladimir Putin's just because Mary sent an email to Vladimir Putin. Now, if you wanted to go look at Mary's data under current law, and
yeah, by the way, look at Jim Jordan. Are you starting to get a picture why Jim Jordan and all these fuckers are going, wait a minute, there's a copy of my email in that person's shit still, and you have access to their shit? That's what this is all about.
There's been no allegation in any 702 of the abuses that we're remedying here that Mary...
No, listen to that again, by the way. None.
Mary's data is searched without a warrant. It's Vladimir Putin's that's searched without a warrant, and if Mary's in there, then that's Vladimir's data, not Mary's.
I like that you keep going back to Vladimir Putin and the heads of Hamas now that we've established that members of the German parliament or
We didn't establish that. You made it up, dummy.
bureaucrats within the German government could be part of this.
Could, yeah, that's not established. Could is not an establishment, you dumb motherfucker. Say could again. Say could equals is. Try to make the case that could equals is. English, do you speak it?
And my point is this, if
You don't have one.
Mary Catherine has 20,000 communications.
Now she's got 20,000. What is this bitch up to? She's doubled her amount of communications in a year. You don't find that hinky? You know, Thomas Massey, last year she sends 10. And all of a sudden, she's got a couple of emails to Vladimir Putin, and now her email list has grown by 10,000. She's doubled the number of people she's communicating with. You don't find that strange? Who the hell is this woman?
And she's a red-blooded American.
Well, we wouldn't know that just from the emails.
And 100 of them get swept up in your program, then
they're not swept up. I got news for you. An email you send to somebody isn't yours. It doesn't work that way. Especially when it's involved in a crime. Because I'll tell you what, when you get arrested for murder or something, you know, where you would have left DNA behind, you can deny them the ability to take your DNA. You can try to do that, right? You can file an injunction to keep them from getting your DNA from you to match it to the DNA found at the scene. What you can't do is get your DNA back from the crime scene. You cannot actually go, that's my blood. I have the right of bodily autonomy. The court is illegally holding my blood just because it was left all over the counter and the butcher knife and the refrigerator and in the bathroom and all over the tub and partly around because I was really loosey-goosey with the knife and it was some of it on the garbage bags that were in and the little on the trace of the trunk of my car. I would like all that blood back, please. That's my blood. Just because I left it somewhere doesn't mean you have the right to look at it and see what's in it. Shut the fuck up. You can argue, by the way, that your blood was there innocently. That you were there earlier and you cut yourself and you forgot to tell the police at the time. That you were shaving as you walked around all over the place with a really dull razor and you were in a big fucking hurry. So that's why your blood is everywhere in the place. But you can't get it back. You stupid. It's there. It's not a violation of your fucking rights for the fucking forensic team from the police department to take samples of the blood at the scene and see if they can match it, you dumbass. Oh my God, this is fucking idiotic.
Why doesn't she get her constitutional rights for those 100? Why would you?
Because she sent emails to Vladimir Putin and he's under surveillance. And you can't surveil someone without looking at the person they're communicating with. It doesn't work that way. Jesus Christ. Are you going to, okay, let's say you murder everyone in a house. Walk in there like a fucking psychopath and you chop everybody to pieces and you leave your blood and their blood all over the place and you scoop the bodies up and you move them all around and whatever. You pull a Robert Durst, you try to throw the body parts away and then you go hide the heads in some place because you think you can't identify them because you're a fucking moron. And then the police show up for a wellness check because somebody has said, I haven't heard anything from my neighbor in a long time. And they enter the house. You cannot argue that, and let's say you're a family member. You lived in that house for a time or you're another member. You killed the people that live there. And you live there too. But you left because you killed everybody. And you're on the run. And they enter the house to see who's dead because there's blood everywhere and all this stuff. And then they start processing the crime scene. And then your argument is you want the illegal search thrown out because you live there and no one was there to give them permission to enter the house because you had fled and everybody else was dead. Jesus Christ. This dumb motherfucker. What are you talking about? If you send an email to someone, it's no longer yours. It's not your data, you dumb motherfucker. It isn't. And if they get a warrant, if you send an email. Okay, maybe we start from scratch. Hi, everybody. Welcome to 2024. We've had emails since the fucking 80s, but apparently people are confused about this shit. That when you send an email, it's not a physical letter that is yours until the mail delivers it, and then if nobody opened it, no one has the right to, or some shit like that. It doesn't work that way. If they get a warrant to look at the emails of somebody, whatever you sent them is going to be in there. Think about that the next time you send an email. I was going to send a nude to this person, but what happens if they turn out to be a murderous drug dealer? What if they're the next Walter White? You know what? I'm just going to put write a note on rice paper and deliver it on a rainy day. Just to fuck up.
To deprive her. I'm not saying they're going to Putin or the head of Hamas. Mary Catherine has no interest in communicating with them.
Apparently she did.
Somehow one of them goes to somebody.
Yeah, somehow. It's just a thing. You know what I mean? Is it her fault that Vladimir Putin subscribes to her email list on how ivermectin cures everything?
Somebody in Germany that's on your list that has no constitutional rights. Why does she give up her constitutional rights just because she's communicating with somebody who has no constitutional rights?
She doesn't. She doesn't. She has no constitutional right to keep something hidden that is sent to someone else that she does not have the belief will hide or keep that proper. And if she's engaged in something illegal, that right doesn't exist anyways. Yeah, Mary Catherine has an OnlyFans, right? Jesus Christ. Like, what a fucking reach.
Right.
She hasn't surrendered her constitutional rights. Again, back to...
You're surrendering her constitutional rights under this program.
No, they aren't.
Let's say I email you. And let's say you're subject to a warrant and they...
Yeah, I like this hypothesis. I can go with it.
Take your phone, which has happened to other members of Congress. And my email is in your phone. They don't need a warrant separately to read my email to you if they have a warrant for your phone. This is a probable cause warrant, which is what they were calling for. If your data is lawfully taken, then there's no requirement to look at my data in yours.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, this is a weird backdoor thing that and this seems to be the paranoia of the Putin contingent in the maggot crowd, is that they're worried that this is like, they're going to feed a piece of malware backwards and read everything on their hard drive at home. Jim and all these, yeah, they're fucking nervous about this.
With a separate warrant. You don't have to get a separate warrant to look at everybody's information that's in somebody's data if you have a warrant to look at theirs. In this program,
yeah, can you imagine what that would require? Think about that just from a practicality standpoint.
We have the ability to survey, and everyone in the entire country would want us to, Vladimir Putin. If you email Vladimir Putin, you don't have constitutional protections of that email to Vladimir Putin. You do of all of your other emails. To go look in your data, you would have to have a probable cause warrant that shows that somehow you violated the laws. And by the way, there's no law that you violated in corresponding with Vladimir Putin. If you sent him an email, though, that did indicate that you were like a gun runner or doing something that was illegal.
Yeah, like, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. Maybe like, let's say you had connections in the Trump campaign, and I'm just spitballing, and they needed money for a myriad of things, and you offered to be the conduit by which that money would flow. Something like that. I think that's what he's talking about. Some ballpark, right?
Then, and only then the government would still have to go to court to look at your data. They can't just go and look at follow through and take your data.
Let me see if I understand the legal.
I'm gonna guess you don't.
Principle here. Americans have constitutional rights to privacy, except for when they're communicating with somebody who doesn't have a constitutional right to privacy.
If they are communicating.
Well, that also, they don't have a constitutional right to privacy, and they satisfy the three categories that would make them a target for the FISA.
With foreigners located abroad, for which that foreigner does not have constitutional rights to their data. We do not apply the United States Constitution to foreigners located abroad. a small subset of foreigners located abroad, those which rise to the level of being a national security threat, we do spy on. The American public would want us to spy on individuals that are a threat to our country.
Yeah, it seems logical.
If you communicate with one of those individuals, yes, your emails, your data that are in that individual, the head of ISIS, the head of Hamas, Vladimir Putin, are subject to intercept. And courts have ruled, regardless of what this law says, courts have ruled are not subject to any additional protection. Your data remains protected, but not those that you've communicated to a foreigner abroad.
Right. Pretty simple, pretty direct, right? That seems logical. If you're contacting somebody who's been, is part of a drug cartel or a terrorist organization or a gun runner or a fucking oligarch who's shuffling money around and but you're contacting them, your shit's gonna and they are surveilling that person. They're gonna find it, just like an old-fashioned phone tap. If you called Capone's people, they'd hear it, right? They hear your words. It's not an email. They're listening, and there was never a problem with any of those. Legally, that's how it works, right? Talk the whole time. They've got a tap on that phone. They don't have to go, I don't know, this guy's got a fucking, is this Boston Brian? This guy's got a Boston accent. That's not, we can't listen to him. How the fuck do you know? Till you listen. Emails are just another, they're like, what they're saying is essentially is that, yeah, you can wiretap a phone where we can talk and code and wink a bunch, but what if you get into my WhatsApp or their WhatsApp and you see what I've been saying to them? I thought it was being erased. On my end, it was being erased. But then you see it, shit. That's what they're fucking panicking about.
Yes, Mr. Ranking Member Nadler.
Thank you. If you're communicating with a foreigner,
Nadler, speak into the microphone.
And for some reason, this foreigner is being surveilled by the United States.
Thank you, Chairman Nadler, for dumbing it down for Massey.
They will catch your communication. They know what you said. Presumably they're wiretapping it. They know what you said to the foreigner. They know what the foreigner said to you. Fine. But if they now want to look at, because you're communicating with Vladimir Putin, they suspect, even though all you said to him was happy birthday, but since you communicated with him, they suspect that maybe you're up to no good.
It's how you said happy birthday, you know what I mean? You went, by the way, Tovarish, happy birthday. Jim, I know we just said happy birthday, and I know we've got in our notes he has what sounds like a bullshit stutter, but I'm going to go with, that sounds like Morse code to me. All right.
And they want to search all your communications.
They need a warrant.
You should need a warrant, and that's what
they do.
What our amendment says. Under current FISA law, you would not need a warrant. Under the bill in chief, you would not need a warrant, and that's why we are putting in a probable.
That's not true. That's the part that concerns me about Nadler talking about this, because he keeps looking at his notes. That isn't true. Currently, you do need a warrant. You do. You fucking do.
Cause amendment, a probable cause warrant amendment, which we hope will be made in order.
Mr. Massey, if I could just
go ahead.
For one moment, it is not accurate.
That's very nice. That's a nice way of putting it. That is not accurate. Yeah, it's fucking silly. They just finished explaining that if you want to look into this, if I write an email to Vladimir Putin and say happy birthday, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, eggplant, cloud, heart emoji, then they can look at that because I sent it to him and it's in his shit and that's that. I don't have any claim to it because I sent it out into the world and it's not my fucking business anymore. If I wrote it on I'm a fucking criminal and a confession on a piece of paper on a paper airplane and I threw it out the fucking window, it is no longer my property. You get it? It's gone. It's out in the world, and if it lands in the yard of someone that's being raided by SWAT and they're like, what the fuck? And it has my address, name, the list of my crimes, and all that, and they decide this looks crazy, or somebody steps on it, never sees it, or they miss it entirely, or what have you. They take it back and go, this seems to line up with the dead body we found out on the in the swamp. Then they might then they want to go to your house. They'll still need a warrant, right? But you can't say you don't have any right to that piece of that paper airplane. I sent it out into the world to my neighbor who's a serial killer is just kind of like a thank you note. This is so fucking dumb.
The current law, not this amendment, requires that if the government is going to go look at an American's data or information, that a probable cause warrant is required. It is not accurate to say that the government can do so. And I'm going to read into the record their actual amendment, because their amendment does not say if they go to look at Americans' data. Their amendment says.
And this is the part where we get into Hinky Town, and then we're going to visit Harriet Hagman in Wyoming.
Except as provided in some paragraphs B and C, no officer or employee of the United States may conduct a query of information acquired under this section, which is 702, for the purposes of finding communications or information, the compelled productions of which will require a probable cause warrant. It's a warrant to look at Hamas, ISIS, Vladimir Putin. Current law requires, even if without this amendment, current law requires to look at your data, Mary's data, or anyone else, that they get a warrant. I wouldn't want anyone to think otherwise.
These are queries of the 702 database, which is why Mr. Turner is incorrect.
How big is the 702 database, Mr. Chairman Turner?
It's probably like 1,000,000 pages.
I can't tell you, obviously, the extent of which the database is. It is the data of foreigners located abroad, of which there are about 250,000 that are court supervised, that are identified as national security threats or national security intelligence targets as a result of the threats and protection for the United States.
So anyways, you guys get the point, chat room. I think pretty obvious that Massey and Jim Jordan and all these folks are fucking like, they seem to be tap dancing around like, have you seen any from, I don't know, let's say like an email address identifying themselves as Miss Kathy 205 in easternkentucky.org as their email, just ballpark. I'm just spitballing. And is there any chance at all that like if you found something like that, you could let me know? That's what they're talking about. This is all about sitting members of Congress wanting a heads up. They don't give a rat fuck if your data ends up. This is all for fucking show. They don't care if your data shows up in fucking that, in the mailing list, like letters to the editor of the ISIS magazine. Don't give a fuck. They really don't. What they're worried about is their shit is going to start showing up. They've sent a bunch of communications to these kind of people, and they're like, oh, fuck, the hammer's coming down over the next couple of years. This news is coming out. How can I set up right now a legal precedent where I can get that shit excluded for myself? That's what, 100%. That's what fucking Jordan's freaking out about. That's what Massey's freaking out about. It's, it's so ham-handed. Yeah. They're covering their own ass. Now, they've got little helpers. It's so fucking on the nose. They've got little helpers like, oh, sorry, wait 1 second. I got the wrong lady. Give me a second. That's the wrong one. Where did she go? Oh, here she is. like this person. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? It's Harriet Hagman. How do you do, baby? Oh, yes. I'm here before Congress. I'm ready to... I want FISA reform.
Congress is tasked with reforming an authority intended...
That's right. We're in charge. You're not in charge. You're not my real dad.
...for foreign intelligence collection.
Oh, foreigners. Boo.
But which has turned into warrantless surveillance of the American people.
They're looking at my emails and I know it right now.
The targeting of Americans is well documented.
Well, not well documented. I've written a couple of documents, and I wrote a couple documents about Americans being surveilled under this thing, and I handed it to people, and they read it, and they went, well, and so well documented.
Reporting from the Office of the Director for National Intelligence found that in 2021, the FBI conducted over
2021, yikes.
3,394,000 U.S. person searches without a warrant. Warrantless.
They don't need a warrant because they found those people in the thing already.
Surveillance of the American people by the federal government in violation of the Fourth Amendment is...
Now, not so much, because that's unreasonable search. It's easier. And I understand, like if I'm talking to Hamas, it's none of your fucking business, okay? Look, say what you will about Hamas, but they sure do know how to make a nice Christmas fruitcake. It takes a terror organization to make a dessert like that.
Well documented and well known. Is such an alarming reality.
It's so well documented and well known, I don't even have to cite it here. I can just say a big number and move on, okay? So fuck you.
Reality does not merit serious reform and paring back of authorities. Then my question is, what does?
Yeah. If you looking into foreign contacts amongst people who are involved in building a gallows on the White House grounds or the Capitol grounds on January 6th, if those people can't be free to build a gallows on the people's lawn, who are?
Well documented, well known, but not...
Yes, well documented and well known.
Well opposed, I suppose.
Yes, Chris Salcedo.
Joining me now to discuss is conservative Harriet Hagman. Good to see you, Congress.
Hi, Chris. Love your show, and thanks for wearing your turquoise matching tie today. Because Wyoming, India jewelry, etc., etc., etc.
You heard our preamble. The government has proven it can't be trusted with this power of FISA.
Really? How so? Why don't you have Carter Page on, that fuckhead, while you're at it?
Couple that with no real punishment for those who betrayed our people, who...
Yeah, you have to prove they, quote, betrayed your people first. And who's your people? Why are your people always the ones contacting terrorists?
Stuck the knife in the back of our people by...
Oh, they stuck the knife in the back of the people. And now millions of good, hardworking Americans are walking around, going about their lives with a big knife stuck in their back, which, it hurts. And, if you need to reach for some cereal on a shelf or try to go through a revolving door, it's fucked up. It's fucked up.
Abusing this law. Why are you a no on FISA?
Yeah. Besides all the reasons that I told you should just now.
Well, what you're getting to is accountability, and what I enjoy...
Yeah, we got to hold these people accountable. Fuck, man. If I hear that statement one more time. Hey, what are you going to do when you get to Washington? You're going to fight, and then you're going to hold people accountable? Is that your fucking rubber stamp phrase? Hold people accountable? Are you, real quick, do you have any interest at fucking all of holding people accountable for being in direct contact with terrorists, human traffickers, fentanyl producers, drug dealers, and foreign governments that seek to undermine our country? How about those people? How do you feel in a general sense about holding those people accountable? Does that chart at all?
enjoyed about listening to your preamble is laying out the constitutional foundation for where we are.
Thank you. Siri just heard me and then was like, oh, that's a shame.
We need absolute reform of FISA. I would.
Nah, we don't. Even the people who are reforming it and writing it down, even Jim Jordan's like, they're just trying to change two things. Now they're trying to change two things to cover their tracks, but still, they're not trying to dust off the whole fucking thing, dummy.
Support FISA reform. I would support the bill if we have a warrant requirement and we have constraints on the FBI and their ability.
They already have constraints.
To use FISA against American citizens. So I'm not necessarily opposed to FISA in its entirety, but I'm absolutely in support of much needed reform. If we can't get that reform, I will vote against it.
Right. So if you can't get the reforms that you like because they specifically benefit a few of your colleagues who have been talking to members of the, people in the Kremlin and the Chinese government and people in fucking Qatar and in Turkey in the case of Mike Flynn and shit like that. If those people aren't allowed to get away with it and we don't have a two-tier justice system, then fuck America. Let the terrorists plan their next attack.
Sure, and some of the reform, if I may be so bold to suggest, Congresswoman, maybe if you're caught abusing FISA as a member of the government, you get a mandatory 10-year prison sentence and all of your benefits are wiped off the books and you can never hold a government job again. That's just a suggestion.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you had something in place like that, there would be like 4 members of the Trump administration in jail right now. You know that what's his name? Hold on one second. The dude who went to jail for the Carter Page warrant, for changing it, was trying to help Donald Trump, right? You know that, right?
Meantime, as Alejandro Mayorkas, the impeachment...
Alejandro Mayorkas. I love it when you speak with the Spanish thing, Alejandro. It's wonderful. It does scare me a little bit because obviously I'm a Republican and anything with a Mexican or Spanish accent scares me unless it's Antonio Banderas, which for some reason he just works, it's just something about him just works. Like when he pushes his hair back in Desperado. You know that moment? You know what I'm talking about? And don't get me started on Rico Suave. Oh, that was my jam back in the day.
Of the provisions.
Saga. Yes, ma'am. The impeachment continues to drag on. You're an impeachment manager. I wanted your thoughts on yet another...
Yeah, but why haven't you found anything?
Another delay in sending the impeachment articles over to the Senate. In a statement, Speaker Johnson saying, quote, to ensure the Senate has adequate time to perform its constitutional duty, the House will transmit the articles of impeachment to the Senate next week, end of quote. Congresswoman, it's been 2 months.
On Mayorkas, by the way. Did he say, I didn't catch that. Did he say Mayorkas specifically, or did he go straight to Biden? I was too busy being crazy lady. 1 second. Back to here. Hold on. Yeah, it says Mayorkas on
over to the Senate. In a statement, Speaker Johnson, impeachment continues to drag saga. Yes, ma'am. The impeachment continues to drag on. You're an impeachment manager. I wanted your thoughts on yet another delay in sending the impeachment articles over to the Senate. In a statement, Speaker Johnson saying...
He means the Mayorkas impeachment. What the fuck does this have to do with...
Quote, to ensure the Senate has adequate time...
Isn't it weird? He's like reading. It seems like he's talking about like Biden impeachment because that's how they talk, because the Mayorkas thing, that ship has sailed.
To perform its constitutional duty, the House will transmit the articles of impeachment to the Senate next week, end of quote. Congresswoman, it's been 2 months since Mayorkas was impeached. Isn't this just another delay tactic by a class of, air quotes, Republicans who really don't have, I don't know, the heart to bring accountability to Democrats who are doing such harm to this country?
Hey, fuckwad, guess what? If they send them over to the Senate, they don't have to vote on it. They can table it and make it go away. They can go, this doesn't have the votes to pass, we got shit to do, bye. The only thing this does, if he passes it on, is he can go, I sent it to them. They just wouldn't bring it up because they're afraid to even consider it. And they're like, and the ship has sailed and nobody in the Senate's going to vote him out. So it's a waste of fucking time. And everybody in the Senate's like, what the fuck are you putting this shit on my desk for? This is Newsmax.
Well, that concerns me. And I was asked a question earlier this week when I was doing kind of a roundtable with folks. And the question was, why is it taking so long? I think.
Yeah. That's what they were asking. It was kind of the question.
That's a legitimate question from the.
It is the liquid. I agree. I ask it all the time. Sorry. Sometimes I say that to my husband. Why is it taking so long? And he's like, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. And I'm like, it better, or I'm going to tell everyone. And then he's like, now you're making it take longer. And I'm like, I wish it would take longer. And he's like, shut up, I'm trying to concentrate. And then we just go to sleep. Sorry. Tap out for a second. Oh, God. Sometimes I just joke in my little room all by myself, staring into the camera. Wondering if anyone's out there. Oh, God. No, I don't know if she's married or not. I was just making a joke. He could be the pool boy for the sake of this particular telenovela.
The American people. Mayorkas was impeached by the House because he has blatantly violated the law. He needs to be held accountable by the Senate by allowing us to go forward with the trial and convict him. The fact is, he's one of the most lawless cabinet members probably in U.S. history.
And yet,
he took an oath to uphold the Constitution and to defend the United States from America, from enemies both domestic.
To defend the United States from America?
And foreign. Yet
maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe you guys call yourself, you're the America folks, and maybe he's defending the United States from people who talk about America.
He has allowed over 10 million illegal aliens to invade our country.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't at all. Title 42 created an elevated number of recidivism. The number is a third that.
And he is doing so.
If there were 10 million brand new illegals in the country, there wouldn't be an unfilled job at Mar-a-Lago.
Specifically for political reasons. The man needs.
You think Mar-a-Lago would be putting ads out for cooks and servers if there were that many illegals running around?
Needs to be held accountable, and we can only do.
We should hold somebody accountable. I don't know why people don't like it when I use the word hold them accountable. I think that phrase sounds cool. That phrase makes it sound like I'm doing a lot. I'm going to hold these people accountable. I'm going to hold their cheese on the counter. Let me tell you what. Fucking sick of that shit.
That if we are allowed to go forward.
Why don't you just tell me you're fighting for an issue and your constituents at the same time? Jesus.
With this trial.
Yes, and part of me, Congressman, I do want to see justice done, but there's also a part of me that hopes that Chuck Schumer just tries to shove this under the rug the way the government's been trying to do everything else. It would show the American people just how crooked and corrupt the Democrats are.
Oh, so this vote in the House was performative anyways. You know it won't pass the Senate, but you want him to go. You want him to send it up so they can shelve it, just like I said. So you can go, they won't even bring up the vote because they're afraid. I'm so sorry, though. No? Do you think? Don't you think what I just said was brilliant? I think you're the sexiest guy on Newsmax. I mean, there's a certain appeal to Greg Kelly's anger and disgrace for his own physical person. Like, you can just tell when you're in his presence that he hates himself. He hates the scent of his own tie. And if you've seen him eat lunch, you know why. But there's something about you that I think is just magic, Chris. I'll see you. Well, thank you. It's because I can point out that the government doesn't do anything right. And I'd like to thank you for coming on as a member of the government. I'm happy to. The government sucks. Look who, if you want to see how bad the government is, look who's in it. Because shit.
Well, that would be absolutely corrupt. In the 21 impeachments that have taken place in U.S. history, the Senate has held a trial on every single one. So it would be absolutely unprecedented for Schumer to not allow a trial to go forward, but it would be just further evidence of the level of corruption and cover-up that we are experiencing here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it's just the cover-up and the corruption and cover-up. Why would it be a cover-up if you've already presented the information? Like, everybody knows what the case is. There's not more shit that will come out in the Senate trial. It's just a rehash of the shit that's out there. You just want a spectacle.
I always say that sunshine is the best disinfectant.
Yeah, it's not actually. I think pretty much. I'm gonna go with peroxide. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go with yeah. Well, an actual disinfectant. You know that like goo you can get for cuts and scrapes and that kind of stuff. That's the generic version. It works just as good. Just saying. Yeah, carbolic acid. That's a good disinfectant as well. Bleach is all right for countertops. I mean, I guess that's the important thing, is it's sort of site specific. That's why if you're trying to disinfect something, let me explain something to you. Anybody who says that has sushi at their home on the kitchen island without plates and figures if they open the drapes, it'll be safe to eat tomorrow. Shut up.
And what we need is to shine a light on what is going on here so that the...
Well, excuse me. Light is not enough. You have to it has to be sunlight. Otherwise, look, flashlights are not the best disinfectant. I can pretty much say that. Look, we can debate about how valuable sunlight might be. In the desert, there are very few COVID, variants on the sand that last very long. I'll get you there. But a flashlight isn't going to cut it, lady. I'm telling you. And it doesn't work against vampires either. Why would I want it to work against vampires? They're so sexy. They're so sexy. Think about how sexy they are. Especially my favorite is that guy from Twilight. Because he looks like a teenage boy, but he's like 900 years old. You know what I mean? So he's skinny and sexy like a stick bug, but he knows what he's doing. Sure, his skin is ice cold because he's technically dead, but yeah, nobody's perfect except yours truly. Sorry, there's never gonna be a bad moment for that face, except always.
The American people could make a choice in November whether they're going to allow these despots and dictators to continue to control our country, or we're going to take
despots and dictators
our country back and put America first.
Also bumper sticker thing to say. America first. We're gonna hold them accountable. Make America great again. Everything sucks. Everything will be better. It all happened so quickly. Just listen to President Trump. Don't listen entirely to President Trump. Obviously, pick your battles, because there's obviously moments. If you listen to him all the time, you hear shit like
Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Yeah, that's no good. That's no good. Or don't listen to him when he's talking about the Civil War.
Our army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
But you know that, Chris Salcedo. You've got skills.
He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, my favorite is when he does it to your asshole. Anyways, sorry. All right. I know. It's a bit much today. I tell you what, it's that filter. It's just how do you not say the worst when that's what you're doing with your face? So, needless to say, she's not the only one talking about this spy stuff. Now, who could possibly have a worse understanding about this than her and Chris Salcedo? Well, I'm so glad you asked. And by the way, I'm going to sneeze, so excuse me 1 second. Sorry, I gotta say, doing that face makes my nose tickle. Anyways, so yes, there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Glenn Beck, who single-handedly, maybe Pat Gray could have a dumber take on this, but so far he hasn't had one yet. But we'll go with this one.
So House Republicans are divided. I don't know how they're divided on this.
Yeah, what's to be divided about? Look, what you want is the Kremlin and ISIS and China and Iran and all their subsidiaries and the Wagner Group and all that, and to talk about, with people inside the continental United States, all they want about planning terror attacks and destroying our electrical grid and poisoning people and that kind of stuff. What's not to like?
Read the Constitution.
Okay. You don't think the provide for the common defense part would cover the surveilling foreigners, that kind of shit? He looks very frustrated. But obviously he was on his way to a funeral, and they're like, you still have to do a show. And he's like, fuck. Okay.
Where do you find in the Constitution warrants, Pat?
Well, you got the Fourth Amendment.
Oh, yeah, good. So Stu's out. So Pat is filling in. So we get a double dose of dipshit.
For instance, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable...
Their persons, their houses, their effects. Is it, if you send an email overseas, how do you think the founding fathers would have felt about this?
Reasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation.
Okay, so wait. That's the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah.
What does that mean? The reason why this was written in is because the king...
Because there was a huge problem with spam emails in the mid to late 1600s. And
used to issue general warrants. And that meant, Pat Gray, there's something wrong with him. Go find it. And they could look into anything. They could go into your house, go through all of your papers, where a warrant, now our kind of warrant, has to be sworn out by the police and somebody else. Somebody tips them off and they say, look, I know he robbed somebody or he killed somebody and he's keeping their necklace in their house. It's in his safe, in his wall, in his bedroom.
I feel like you guys, this sounds like a confession. Somebody should take this down.
They go to the judge, and the judge says, really? And listens to all of it, and he's supposed to be skeptical and protect your right to privacy. But
right, and that's what the judge did in West Palm Beach, and Mar-a-Lago got a duly drafted search warrant. So, cool, we're good there.
If they have enough evidence to make the judge go, I think you're right, he did. Then he issues that specific warrant. They can't just go into your business and everything else and just look through stuff.
Right, and they don't.
They have to know what they're looking for and generally where it is.
And if they find something else that incriminates them on some other issue, you can't use it.
Can't use it.
Yes, you can. Bullshit. No. Fuck off. If a person is suspected of shooting someone, and in seeking the gun, they find a bloody knife in the same box as a pillow with the outline of the gun. Gun's missing, but in there is a knife with blood and hair on it. They don't have to go, sorry, it doesn't say anything about a knife with blood on it. Get the fuck out of here. Of course you can. They don't have to play dumb.
Okay? That's the Fourth Amendment.
No, it isn't.
This is where we get warrants.
Right. But that does not apply to anyone that isn't an American. At all. And if you leave your fucking gun in Mexico and you come back to the country, go, hang on to my gun, I murdered somebody with it, keep it in your house, whatever. And they, in the process of tracking this person down, they search their house and they find your gun in that house and they track the serial number back to you and your fucking fingerprints are on it. You don't get to go, hey, that gun, I left that there in another country. Out of my possession. No longer on my person or in my things.
This is why you can't just stop people in the streets and search.
Yeah, right. That's by the way, these assholes want stop and frisk back. Weren't they just like last week talking about bringing how great stop and frisk was? Shut the fuck up.
Search them. Okay? This is why America doesn't say papers, please. You can't do
unless you're a woman who may or may not have had a period in the last 5 weeks. And you're trying to travel from Texas to, say, Arkansas or get on a plane to New York or something like that. Then Republicans are all for checking your papers and who paid for the ticket. And the person who paid for the ticket can go right to fucking jail too. Again, is it just me or are these assholes just breezing by everything they're trying to actually implement in this country right fucking now?
Do that.
Donald Trump wants to do a massive deportation. Well, how do you do that without asking for papers? How? How do you do it? How do you go door to door with the biggest mass deportation in American history without asking for papers? How do you do it? Explain to me that. Anybody? Nope. By the way, what you just heard was another great Hal Sparks point that will now make its way into the general conversation on the news everywhere over the next couple of weeks. You're welcome. If I can't get my Harriet Hagman character in, at least I can get some good points in there. You cannot have a mass deportation effort in the country without asking for papers door to door. You can't do it. This motherfucker.
Because of the Fourth Amendment. Now, we were all really drunk and stupid when we passed the Patriot Act. And in the...
No, you weren't. You're fearfully reacting to 9/11 and the failure of communication between the FBI, the CIA, and the other intelligence forces. And that mismatch allowed people to get through. And you don't want that to happen anymore. The overreach came because Republicans wanted way more than was necessary to fix that problem.
Patriot Act, it has Section 702, and it's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act.
Right. Which is totally necessary.
And we all talked about it at the time, and we all trusted our government at the time, strangely, except for actual liberals, which I don't think exist anymore. And they were the ones that were saying, don't do this, don't do this.
All right, this is revisionist history. The idea that the Patriot Act, that the FISA aspect of Patriot Act was the bridge too far is fucking nonsense. That wasn't what people were arguing simply about direct surveillance of the American people internally. We weren't worried about foreign surveillance. What are you talking about? That was the least controversial part of it. That's the part that, if you broomed out all the other shit, would have stayed. That was the part that should have been in there. You dumb motherfucker.
They'll scoop Americans up into this.
No, they won't. You're not going to get scooped up in it unless you're in contact with a person who satisfies one of three categories. They are involved in terrorism, they are involved in financing terrorism or illegal activity, or they are engaged in a foreign influence campaign or manipulation of our country from a foreign government. Not a foreign person, by the way. That's the other thing. If a rando motherfucking Russian decides to email people in the United States and go, I think you guys should do this, that's covered under free speech back and forth. That's the irony of it. It's only when it's linked to the government. The FISA guys can't even talk to a dude unless they have reasonable suspicion he's linked to the foreign government. Because if a private citizen is talking to private citizens in our country, that's just people talking.
We said at the time, it's fine. That's not going to happen.
And I said, because I was for it at the very beginning, a few weeks into it, I was like, okay, this...
Bullshit. No, he didn't. I call bullshit. No, nonsense. This is you rewriting history to cover your own ass so that you can pretend you've been warning us ever since. Shut the fuck up.
It's going to be a problem because I remember thinking all they have to do is just change the meaning of terrorist.
What? No, they don't. If you're a terrorist in the United States, you're expected of terrorism in the United States. That's an internal FBI thing, and they get a warrant based on that. You have to be in contact with foreign terrorists or these other categories. And there's 7 categories, by the way. No, they don't.
If they decide a group of Americans are terrorists, we're done.
No, asshole. Even for your fucked up analogy to work, they would have to decide that a group of foreigners are terrorists for it to work. They would have to designate a group as terrorists and then backdate your communications to before that contact. That would be a misuse of it at that time. That they could look at your emails that happened for the United States government. It said that it was originally viewed as a aid organization, an NGO operating in Syria. And it turns out it's actually a terrorist organization. We found that out later. And from that date, when the U.S. government says this is a terrorist organization going forward, then they could use FISA to look at their shit, not before, technically speaking. I'm sure there's some allowance that would allow them to go backwards. But you're not going to be on the hook for anything until the federal government said, going forward, it was well publicized that this was a terrorist organization. This person still talked about this. Talk to them.
And that's exactly what they've done now.
No, it isn't. It is not at all what they've done.
So what happens is
Yeah, tell me what happens.
they get a warrantless surveillance of foreigners. We don't
Yeah, just foreigners.
have to have a warrant on foreigners.
Right, because they're not covered by
So they go
the why. Pat's not sure. Pat's not sure if that's right. Pat's caught. Pat's stuck for this moment. Do I want there to be a warrant for them, or do we hate them because they're foreign?
to the FISA court and they say, look, we're going to go listen to these people, and they don't need a warrant. And they go and they listen to those people. The problem is it's a giant chain. That person, if that person is foreign and he calls somebody here in America, then that person is tracked and everyone else that he talks to.
Nope. No. They're not tracking people that they call, like, if the fucking Kremlin calls somebody and hangs up, that person is not on the hook. And they still can't listen to their phone calls in the United States beyond anything but that phone call specifically, unless they get a warrant. Which is why they got a warrant for fucking Carter Page. That was the point. You can argue that he shouldn't have gotten one, and he totally fucking should have.
Everyone else that they talk to, and so on, and
bullshit. This is garbage. This is nowhere near true. This is just fucking paranoid Alex Jones horse shit.
So on and so. Do you remember the old hair? You know, the
yes, we do, and it's a terrible analogy for this
shampoo commercial. And so on, and so on, and so on. And it kept dividing itself until the whole screen was just nothing but faces. That's exactly what is happening.
No, it's not.
And they are scooping up all kinds of information on you that doesn't.
No, they are not.
Doesn't have anything to do with terror overseas.
Well, some of it might have to do with money laundering or being a foreign agent, an unregistered foreign agent, because they're not scooping up shit on you, unless you're basically taking all your shit and dumping it on that person's hard drive, which, by the way, Glenn Beck might do.
This has got to stop.
You're an idiot. Yes, that thing I just made up in my head that isn't actually happening has to come to an... Someone has to stop this fantasy that I have from becoming a reality, because I believe it's a reality now. This is fucking so lame.
You know, when they built, after 9/11, they built the Visitor Center of Washington, D.C. What you don't know is, or may not know, is underneath the Visitor Center, we don't even know how many floors there are underneath that. It's all top secret. Some of your senators and some of your congressmen.
Now hang on a goddamn second. I think he's screwing up the visitor center for the Denver airport. This sounds like bullshit to me. Fantastic. Have you ever been inside the goddamn thing? I went there personally. Get used to the idea. I've been to the visitor center, got a mint, and left. I mean, obviously, I've lost time every time I've gone there, about 7 hours. I had one slice of pizza, and I woke up and my butt hurt. But that's normal. That's par for the course. That happens every time I stop at a visitor center on my travels across this great country. Mostly Kansas, sometimes Arkansas, absolutely Louisiana.
Can't even get into the floors.
No, they're not even floors. They're just giant holes. If you try and stand on them, you fall 10 miles into the Earth's crust, and you end up in the Denver airport. That's where you fucking end up. Where else do you think you go?
They're top secret because they're FISA courts.
Fantastic. They're top secret courts that no one's allowed into. Not judges, not agents, nobody's. They're empty FISA courts where nothing happens. It's if you walk in there, it's just a little podium and a red phone. And if you answer it, you die. True story.
We know now that the FISA courts are completely corrupt.
Yeah, absolutely. They're trying to stop the Russians from making America great again. That's not their. Read the Patriot Act. There's nothing in there that says stop Russians from making America great again. Come on.
We know that the FBI is changing the facts when they go to the court. They've actually changed sworn testimony, and no one's punished for it.
Actually, a guy he went to jail for it. And the fact he changed was actually to help Carter Page by stopping the warrant that was on him. They'd already gotten 3. They were going back for a 4th. He changed the fact that in the past, Carter Page had actually given information to the CIA, thinking that if he's an average citizen, the court would be less likely to go after the poor fella. But when it turns out he'd spoken to the CIA years before, had been dealing in Russia for a long time, there was a concern that he could have turned. They had information that he might have flipped, and that the Russians were actually using him as a double agent, and therefore it would have extended the warrant even further. So the guy scrubbed that to try and get them to reject the warrant, because again, Donald Trump was president at the time. But what the fuck do I know? I just read every goddamn thing.
We cannot allow Section 702 to pass.
It's going to pass. It's going to stay. Of course it's going to pass. I want to say end of 2021, they put new rules in place. Ever since those new rules in places, they have no complaints about what the issues with it that they had previous. The training itself eliminated most of the problem. Of course it's going to stay, you dipshit.
Now,
also, is this guy upset because the Blaze is largely funded overseas? Is that why Glenn is nervous?
There is a amendment to the bill that has been suggested.
Yes, and tell me how Chairman Nadler is one of your favorite people now.
But the bill is coming up this week. The GOP.
It's going to pass. It's going to pass.
Representative Laurel Lee of Florida is the one who has put the amendment in, titled
that will. Oh, well, let him read it. We'll see.
Reforming Intelligence and Securing America Act. It would reauthorize Section 702 of FISA for 5 years and aims to impose a series of reforms.
What would those be?
I don't believe any of the reforms. I don't believe those will ever happen. We have given the keys to everything about us.
No, we haven't. What the ever-loving asshole... Do you have any idea what you sign off on in terms of service with fucking Google, for God's sake? If Google suspects because of how like the websites you go to. If you don't go privately or use a fucking Onion browser or some shit like that to get it, if they suspect that you're engaged in criminal activity, they have a fiduciary duty to the people that have stock in the company to let the cops know, we think we have a user who's actually looking at this shit, and here it is. And they can absolutely break in and look at your shit and go, oh yeah, this motherfucker. Because you sign off the rights for them to scan your emails if they suspect you of a crime internally at the fucking company. You think that's going to keep this asshole from having a Gmail address? No. The difference is you and I have a vote in who carries out the Patriot Act. You and I have a vote in who modifies the Patriot Act. You and I have a vote in who changes the laws of our country and how they're implemented. We don't have a say in any of the big tech companies, for example, like Google or any of these other things, except not to use them. And the data that we're like, the government should have access to this data, we give away freely all the time. One of the biggest fights from the right wing right now is that the government shouldn't be able to buy data from Google using taxpayer money that they don't have a warrant for, even though it ain't yours and you handed it over willingly. Another company can do it for cash, but your government can't. You're okay with a ByteDance in China buying your data from any other company that sells it. You're totally cool with that. But if the U.S. government buys it, it's a violation of privacy. What? Either get your shit off there or limit what you say online and be careful about how much of your life you put online, or shut the fuck up.
To the government, and the government has turned hostile on many Americans.
Not many. Mostly the ones that attack the Capitol. And I would say maybe it's hostile to them in self-defense.
So, what do? We have Chip on yet?
We passed a rule out of committee yesterday.
Oh, my God. Do we have Chip on yet? Yeah. I thought we were only going to get 2 absolute ass takes on this, but here comes Chip Roy. Another guy who desperately wants FISA to give him a heads up at who they are looking at as far as, or who they're surveilling overseas. Let him have a list, because that's also part of this. For oversight, the maggots, specifically the Freedom Caucus, are fighting to have a list of those people that are being surveilled under FISA to be available for them to peruse. Yeah, anytime you want, in the middle of an investigation, they can go over and see who they're looking at and just go down the list, check it. And by the way, in secret, in a skiff. Without saying, I'm checking for this name. I'm checking for this person. Being like, they're worried about how it's not a specific warrant. Well, they want a specific view of who's on that list so they can go, fuck, I gotta scrub that from my fucking phone.
That would include, that had a rule that said we're going to have a vote on a warrant. The problem is that the Speaker of the House has now come out against the warrant amendment.
Right, because it's stupid. There's already a warrant for Americans, and you shouldn't need a warrant if I walk into the scene of a robbery and there's like evidence all over the fucking place. And there was evidence that there were men and women involved in the robbery. That's all I know. There's a couple of dead people that were shot in this. There's a bunch of money missing. Things are tore up. There's some purses on the ground. There's some leftover bags and that kind of stuff. We look up and see if this is a victim or a person. They look through that purse and they're like, who's here or whatever. Now, they can't walk up to a woman on the street and go, let me see your purse, and look through your purse. But if your purse is at a crime scene and you're not present, they can look through the fucking purse. Now, whether they can use it to go after you for the crime has to do with other things they can use to tie you to the criminality that occurred on that day. If your purse is just there, it's not enough evidence to prove that you were involved in this. But they find your purse and your and a receipt for a gun that tracks to the one that was used to shoot the guard. Then the purse is evidence. How is this and being able to look at that purse, look in that purse that's on the ground at a crime scene, does not violate the generalized privacy rights of anybody who carries a fucking purse. All right. There is no reason to believe that these guys are this stupid about this shit. This has to be paranoid freak out about being caught on their part. This is so fucking basic.
That is a problem because the speaker has put his finger on the scale to shift the conversation and say publicly,
what the hell is wrong with this guy?
Need the warrants.
First he passes 2 budgets and refuses to shut down the government, and now he just wants to normal, obvious shit to just go on working while you guys try to scuttle it to cover your crimes.
What is wrong with him?
Well, that's for another conversation. For the purpose.
No, it's for this one. Why don't you explain it? Tell Glenn how, in this case, there's nothing wrong with him. That you guys are the ones that are fucked up, and everything you're talking about is fucking bullshit. It's nonsense.
So today, now, when we go to the floor in an hour and 40 minutes, we're bringing to the floor a bill under a rule that has an amendment to add the Fourth Amendment protection, the warrant protection, that we could still pass, but seems like we won't.
Right. Because you don't have the fucking votes. Because it's stupid. Oh my fucking God. Can you imagine if, again, in that analogy of the bank robbery, if cops investigating the scene, detectives on site, had to have a judge with them to sign off on looking in every closed purse, bag, anything that was laying on the ground after a crime, to investigate, to open every closet, to look up under every fucking rug on a crime scene. You have to get you have to establish ownership of that thing, and that it's real in the first fucking place. Let's be abundantly clear. Maybe they find this email from this person and it says their name and all this other shit, but it doesn't track back to them. That's another story for another time. But you'd have to have a judge establish it's actually them, provide a warrant for it that will have to be justified later in court about stuff found at a crime scene. It's a fucking crime scene. Yeah, the bomb squad. This is another great example. There's a fucking bomb in this bag, but you have to have a warrant to open the bag and defuse the bomb because you don't legally have rights to declare it a bomb, even though you hear it fucking ticking and it's got a note that says bomb on it.
Because the speaker has put his finger on the scales. So now, since the speaker has...
I think his thumb or his fingers. Is the thumb a finger or is it its own thing? I think that's one of the great debates of the world. Anyways, back to our show.
Done that. We now have to decide whether or not we stop the whole process by killing the rule and then force it to be only reauthorized under its current form, which, of course, still wouldn't give us the protection of the warrant. But our concern is there are other amendments in this that would expand FISA in the name of going after drug kingpins.
Oh, my gosh.
No, hey, you didn't let him finish, dummy. You're supposed to be for these. He's telling you he's for these extra things, that they want to expand FISA to cover cartels and Chinese fentanyl producers. You want it. And he's like, what? They want to expand it? That's terrible.
Right. And so...
Listen to this shit again. Oh, hi. How are you doing? Sorry. I don't know why that came back on. It always happens when I don't switch back to you. Listen to this again real quick. Listen how he's about, you can tell he's like, there are good things in this in the new version that we want to pass. But if we can't get this amendment, we'll have to have the old one, and the old one doesn't have this extra thing. And as soon as he says expand, Glenn goes, oh my God, this is terrible. Listen.
But our concern is there are other amendments in this that would expand FISA in the name of going after drug kingpins.
Oh, my gosh.
See that? He doesn't listen to him. He just hears expand and goes, oh, my gosh. And he goes, in terms of going after drug kingpins.
That would expand FISA in the name of going after drug kingpins.
Oh, my gosh.
Right. And so, for example.
No, not right. No, what? Why is that? Why is that bad? What?
There is well-intended legislation to go after to be able to collect data.
See? Well-intended legislation. No, Glenn, you weren't. That, oh my gosh, was misplaced.
Collect information relative to drug trafficking like fentanyl. The problem is, in the definitions about precursors and other stuff, it expands FISA and expands the amount of information they're collecting. You could be like talking about an American citizen buying whatever cold medicine that's the precursor for making meth. So we're alarmed.
Oh, you mean like Trump and the green fentanyl that he buys from Europe because when he crushes it and snorts it, it makes him feel fabulous.
Armed that it's expanding FISA, and we're trying to kind of run all those pieces to ground.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, and that's all stuff that's been added to it, by the leadership. So now,
yeah, the leadership. Ew. Well, that sells it. Leadership. Who the fuck needs leadership? The leadership? Why don't you just say establishment elites? What's the difference?
now we're trying to figure out what we do with a rule here at noon. We are conflicted because the current.
These assholes don't even know which side of the issue they are on. And so what do you think's going to end up happening? What do you think? That you want to talk about something? This flailing bullshit is going to all be for naught. And it's just going to, the best thing about it for you and I is that it'll be chalked up as another reason why they fucking hate Mike Johnson, even though they're conflicted, but he's terrible for black and white reasons.
Current regime doesn't have the Fourth Amendment warrant, a language
regime. They've never had that language. Trump didn't have that fucking language
in there. Obviously, we still have protections as American citizens under the Constitution, but if you don't put this provision in place, it's not as strong in terms of what we're trying to do to protect citizens.
The biggest red flag in this,
Oh, he's just jumping around to every Dumbo on the whole thing. We were listening to Massey earlier. Let's see what he says in terms of, compared to what he said actually on the panel.
I spent 15 minutes last night in the Rules Committee going back and forth with the chairman of the
15? 50? Massey went on for fucking ever.
The Intel Committee. We finally got him to admit this is inside of his bill, is a carve-out for congressmen. And I don't know if Chip mentioned
No,
this.
he didn't.
I don't want to be – okay. Well, they're trying to tell you they've got 53 reforms in here that'll take care of all the problems. Well, the congressmen who are voting for this aren't convinced because they get a carve-out. There's two carve-outs in here for congressmen. Number one, if the FBI is surveilling you using FISA, they're going into this database and searching with your name, and you're a congressman, and they're ostensibly doing it for your own good because they're worried about the foreign actors, they have to notify you.
You don't say. So, our lovely congressperson from the county of saying the quiet part out loud has fucked around, and we'll eventually find out. But let's be abundantly clear, ladies and gentlemen, that little piece that was snuck in there by Jim Jordan and all this crowd is that if you show up in these emails, if some of your emails end up in the mailbox of these criminals, they gotta let you know before they read them. They see your email and it's immediately like shoveled away. They're like, well, we're not even la-da-da. Average citizen, not so much. But Congress people, let's listen to that again. Let's be abundantly clear why Jim Jordan and all these crowd really want this to get through.
So they're going into this database and searching with your name, and you're a congressman, and they're ostensibly doing it for your own good because they're worried about the foreign actors. They have to notify you. But only if you're a congressman, only if you're a senator or a U.S. representative do they have to.
Why would they put that into a bill? Why would that be something that only the Freedom Caucus members of that committee insisted on being included in this amendment? Why would that be? One more time.
Database and searching with your name, and you're a congressman, and they're ostensibly doing it for your own good because they're worried about the foreign actors. They have to notify you. But only if you're a congressman, only if you're a senator or a U.S. representative do they have to notify you. And I asked, why did they put this in there? Well, we're afraid of political bias. I said, well, what about school boards?
Aren't you afraid of political bias there? And then, oh, by the way, does this apply to candidates or just incumbent congressmen? It only applies to incumbent congressmen. How special is that?
By the way, this is Thomas Massie is for this, by the way. Now, he's also he's mad about that, but he wants it to be expanded to everybody. He wants to protect all these like psychopaths they're trying to put on school boards and that kind of stuff. He wants local maggots that are conversing with the fucking Kremlin and shit, or getting talking points from someplace else overseas to be able to get a heads up. All you got to do is run for office, and they got to tell you if you're on the line. Can you imagine again? You want to find out if there's a FISA warrant on you, or if they're looking at you? Just declare candidacy for office someplace. Fuck, I don't even know if you have to technically qualify. It's like Trump's idea that like he's campaigning and therefore he should be immune from prosecution. Like you don't get, if they pull you over at for running a red light and driving over an old lady, you can't go, you don't have the right to stop me. I've decided to run for mayor.
So my solution here would just be get a warrant, and then you don't have to put carve-outs for congressmen. And here's what's especially despicable about the carve-out. That's to get congressmen's votes. There's at least one congressman we know, Darren LaHood, who said this publicly. He's on the Intel committee, and he was being spied on by the Intel community. He's responsible for their oversight. So he was worried enough about this that he insisted there be some provision. Now, his concern is legitimate. I'm not dinging him per se.
No, I know.
No, of course. What was the why did they stumble upon his shit? He's on the Intel committee, and he keeps, who does he keep calling?
For asking for this, but it should be.
I'm sure, you know what? It's a gap in my knowledge. He probably told everybody. He's probably got his own, they've all these fucking like maggot Congress people have their own podcast. He probably went on his own podcast that night and said, by the way, the intelligence community let me know that they were spying on me. And so here's why. I have several emails. I want to show them all to you. And then here's some recordings of phone calls that I make, because I record all my phone calls with foreign governments just for safety's sake, so everybody knows it's above board. I'm sure he did that.
He solved for everybody, not just congressmen.
Tell us what your amendment actually will do.
Besides let maggots talk to Russians in secret?
Okay, so the amendment we have is called the Fourth Amendment's not for sale. So,
what a douchebag.
One of the most important ones in the bill is to get a warrant. And let's go back in the fall, the base text had getting a warrant. And what does the Fourth Amendment not for sale do? It prevents the federal government from buying data from data brokers.
There you go. That's the other one. What'd I tell you? Yes, it is for sale. If your shit's for sale on the open market, why can't a government buy it? I tell you what, every foreign government in the world can buy it. Except ours? What is that? What are you talking about? Don't sign the terms of service or pass a law in the United States that limits the amount that can be given without, asking permission. Why can't they buy it? Why can't everybody buy it but the government? It reminds me of that old joke about prostitution that George Carlin had. Probably one of the greatest of all time about that particular issue. Fucking is legal. Selling is legal. Why isn't selling fucking legal? Right.
That they would otherwise have to get a warrant or a subpoena to obtain.
Which no country in the world that wants to buy it outside the United States or any other company wants it, or you or I, we could buy it. How about this? What if, as a concerned citizen, I get a thing together and we all buy it, buy the marketing information from a company, and I just drop it off at the FBI? How about that? What if what if I re-gift it to them? How illegal is that?
So it's known as the data broker loophole. So that was in the base text. The speaker essentially worked with the Intel.
Why is it a loophole? I'm serious about this. Like, I'm concerned about this level of privacy, but it seems to miss the entire fucking boat. If anyone in the world except your government could look at this, the fuck good is it? What version of privacy is this? It's so fucking weird.
Committee to gut the bill of some of these important provisions, and at least the warrant requirement.
By the way, you already see Pat Gray yawning.
The bill of some of these important provisions, and at least the warrant requirement is going to be able
just brutal
to be offered as an amendment. But he basically stripped the Fourth Amendment's not for sale from even getting a vote
because it's stupid.
And part of the reason, I still remember, a longtime member of Congress, a guy named Walter Jones, asked him one time when a bill was popular in the House, passed with like 420 some votes, only 7 no votes, would help solve a problem, be popular with the public. Why in the world won't the Senate take this up? And he said, well, I hate to be cynical, but probably because it would pass. And why would they strip this out? Well, because Dick Durbin, who's the chairman of Judiciary in the Senate, has a similar bill in the Senate, and Chuck Schumer is a co-sponsor. So this is an issue.
Well, if they have a similar bill in the Senate, then they got a different version that's going to pass. They stripped it out because there's already one worked into the process. It sounds like this asshole's just mad because his name won't be on the final bill. Why don't you co-sponsor the House version of that bill when it comes down?
That does not break on party lines. When it was offered as a standalone bill in Judiciary Committee last summer, it passed 36-1 through the committee. So how often did Jim Jordan and Jerry Nadler agree on something? Pretty rare. But this is one that at least this isn't a total party line issue like so many other things are.
So we're worried about the establishment and the elites because obviously the uniparty, if they all agree on it, time to be suspicious. Isn't that what Glenn told us? It's bad when Democrats disagree with Republicans. It's bad when Republicans disagree with Democrats, but it's terrible when they agree with each other. Right? How many times have we heard this motherfucker say something to that effect? When they all get together, that's when you know it's fucking bad. And yet in this case, that's the sales point?
They're stripping it out, and he's actually going around the rules to make sure that it never makes it to the floor, is he not?
Well,
because they already have another version of it working through.
Well, it doesn't make it as part of this debate, and he's offered to give us a vote at a later time. But this is the problem: if it's not attached to something that has to pass, like FISA, well, of course the administration wants to keep spying on Americans. They've already said that. And
excuse me, you don't. I'd like to remind you, motherfuckers, that you're the ones tracking women's periods and debating whether you can jail them for having an abortion, or even if you suspect them of having an abortion. What if they go on a trip, have a miscarriage, and forget to call their local representative and let them know they're no longer pregnant, and then don't prove it by showing their trip to the hospital? You out of your fucking mind?
So if
yes, they are.
There is a way to pass it through the House, and even if there is a way to pass it through the Senate, the administration, would simply veto it, and that's why it really should be part of the FISA debate. That's why the Judiciary Committee had it as part of the base text of the bill that essentially the Speaker reworked.
What is the most effective thing people can do today?
Yeah, probably, I would say the most effective thing, don't call foreign drug cartel people and ask them for bomb making, or how to make fentanyl, or terrorists and how to make bombs, or don't email Vladimir Putin unless you have over, I would say, at least 20,001 emails you send per year, in which case you could say a very small percentage and some nudes went to him.
Call their member of Congress, tell them to demand that their member votes for a warrant requirement.
Yeah, that'll work.
And ask them to say we should be voting on the Fourth Amendment's not for sale. The government shouldn't be circumventing the warrant requirement to buy data that they would otherwise have to get a warrant. They don't want the...
Yeah, the government shouldn't be able to just go to the store and buy what's on the shelves. The government, our government, using our tax dollars, should have the most expensive path to a product available for sale. You know, because for free market. I'm dead serious. Like, to get the same information, they would have to like create an entire substructure to mine all that data. But everybody's giving it away for free, so why don't we just walk down the shelf and, we want to pass a law that says the government, no government employee can buy pancakes. They have to harvest their own wheat, grind it into flour, grow their own sugar stalks, grind it down, raise chickens, get the eggs, all that shit, mix the batter, and make them themselves. They cannot, even though everyone else can go buy fucking pancakes, they don't have the right to go buy something that everyone else can buy. This is so stupid. Chad, help me out here. Am I being clear in how fucking stupid that whole idea is? I mean, I don't like it that anybody can buy your data. That's not my point. There are other remedies for that. I wouldn't feel safe if only corporations had access to my data, but the government didn't. I couldn't even convince my government that it's my data without opening my shit if they went, no, I bought it. That's mine. He doesn't own it anymore. We own it all. What are you, nuts? It's, right? Why should the government need a warrant for something that's readily for sale? In that, I mean, I'm genuinely mean this. You don't need a warrant for something someone is giving away. Thanks, Spicy Dragon. It's super weird.
Warrant requirement in the first place, but in the event that should pass, in a lot of ways they're saying, well, it's not as consequential because we can just buy our way around it.
Right. So can everybody. I got news for you. The Russians, the Chinese, the fucking BlackRock, or whoever the fuck your, goblin of choice is these days, can buy it too, stupid. Speaking of stupid, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, Trump is in Atlanta, Georgia. I guess he's on his way to an event. And you can tell because Bloaty McSqueezeface, I don't know. I don't know what happened to his face. I'm going with filler and Botox, and it just didn't take, or he's actually more allergic to botulinum toxin than he thought he was. Or he and Marge were doing rough play, and he forgot his safe word. That's the other possibility. My safe word, by the way, and I think every fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you're going to have a safe word, I recommend canopy, canopy, canopy. Anybody get that? No. Okay. Too much? Too deep reads? Too? Canopy, canopy, canopy. Right? Okay. Please tell me there are Marvel nerds out there who know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh God, yeah. It's not Iron Man, but you're close. It's yeah. No, it's not. It's not Tony Stark, but it's close. Close. See who yeah, there you go. The Rev got it. War Machine. That's how War Machine gets his suit to open if he's in a panic. If he has to open it in an emergency, he yells "canopy" 3 times, and so that's. I think that's a good safe word. It's way better than my old one. My old safe word used to be, and it never seemed to help. Yeah, I have a rule that I only will date someone if their safe word is harder. It's so confusing. Anyways, all right. Excelsior. That, I don't know. That seems positive. So, anyways, I don't know what the fuck happened to this guy. Neither do you. This is super weird. Meanwhile, let's go with President Trump answers questions from the media in Atlanta. I'm sure he'll say plenty of new shit.
Mr. President, did Arizona go too far? Did Arizona go too far?
Okay, they're talking about the they're asking, did Arizona go too far? They're talking about the abortion ruling. Yes, they did, and it's going to be straightened out, and it's all about states' rights. Well, motherfucker, if it's all about states' rights, how's it going to be straightened out? Right? You straightened it out. It's it's theirs. It's here's how it gets straightened out, dumb fuck. You said Arizona can make their own rules. Arizona made their own rules. Don't say anything.
And I'm sure that the governor and everybody else are going to bring it back into reason, and that will be taken care of, I think, very quickly.
What do you think about Florida?
He goes, I think the governor and everybody will get it straightened out, and that will be taken care of very quickly. Why? Why is it extreme? Does life begin at conception or not? I mean, it's like.
Here I am like an idiot. Florida's ours is probably maybe going to change also. See, it's all about the will of the people. This is what I've been saying. It's a perfect.
It's the will of the people. That's what I've been saying. Well, then why would you change it?
So for 52 years, people have wanted to end Roe v. Wade to get it
All right, nonsense.
back to the states. We did that. It was an incredible thing, an incredible achievement. We did that, and now the states have it, and the states are putting out what they want. It's the will of the people. So Florida's probably going to change. Arizona's going to definitely change. Everybody wants that to happen.
Do they? He's like, Florida's going to change, which means Florida's rules are too strict. Arizona's rules are too strict, and they're going to change because everybody wants that to happen. Just, ladies, you're just going to have to hang in there and until, and live in another state until some of these states just work it out.
And you're getting the will of the people. It's been pretty amazing.
You're getting the will of the people. It's not my fucking fault. I laid it on them. That's leadership.
New inflation numbers came out this morning showing inflation going up more than what economists were expecting. Do you believe there's any chance inflation gets under control between now and November?
Biden has totally lost control of inflation. It's back.
Biden has totally lost control of inflation.
It's raging back. The numbers
It's raging back. No, it's not.
today was very high, very bad. It's actually much higher because they exclude various categories. It's actually much higher than that. The number is out of control. Biden has no idea what the hell he's doing. He's the worst president in the history of our country.
Yeah, you do realize this isn't the speech, right? This is, you still got to go someplace.
I have something, but I have some good news. Where's Brian Jack? This is a man I've known for a long time. He's running in Georgia 3. He's going to be a fantastic congressman. District 3, Brian Jack. Very simple name. Don't put him around so that you can do it either way.
Yeah, don't call him Jack Bryan. His name is Brian Jack.
Jack Bryan or Brian Jack. He's a great guy. He's been with me for 7 years.
And I keep calling him Jack Bryan.
And he's always wanted to run for Congress. And this is where he was born, where he grew up. He knows it well. He loves the people. He will be fantastic. You know who Brian is? You do now.
Let's talk money.
Can we talk? Hey, how you doing?
Oh, that's Marge's punching bag. He saw him like, hey, how's it going? I'll walk the other way. Nope. Secret Service is like, we've got another idiot. It's Idiot Watch. He's going to keep talking. Just so you know, if his hat comes off, we got to jump on everybody. Be prepared if his hat comes off to grab everyone's phone because he's 47 is super bald today. Super bald, just letting you know. All right, does he at least walk over this way so the audio's better? Does he eventually talk to this asshole? There you go.
A bigger problem because you.
There we go. So at least this part.
Bonnie Willis staying on your case?
Well, she shouldn't be on our case. She's been totally discredited. It's shocking that she's on our case. Her lover was thrown off the case, and she should be thrown off with it. Bonnie Willis did this to get vacations. I mean, you take a look at the kind of money. And by the way, she never paid him back in cash. And if she did, she's got a bigger problem because you can't do that. That's really, she said she took campaign cash and paid him back. You're not allowed to do that. So either way, that's a
yeah, why the way?
crime. She's a criminal. So
Yeah, she's a crimey criminal. I mean, she's not, but yeah, whatever.
Bonnie Willis has been totally discredited. That case should end. And I think it's a big insult to Georgia that the case is going forward. I don't know if it's going forward. Nobody knows
It is.
that. But if it does go forward, it's a big insult to Georgia. She is a corrupt individual. He was corrupt. She was corrupt. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And
Yeah, we see you all the time. I mean, we've got a pretty good, measuring stick for corruption. I mean, we see a lot of you. We've seen a lot of corruption. Yeah.
I suspect that case is going to be terminated because it has absolutely no credibility.
Mr. President,
No, it's definitely going forward.
let's talk about your polling numbers nationally. You're just crushing Biden. It continues to
Nope. It just came out the Ipsos poll. Biden's ahead by 4 points.
go up.
Outside the margin of error.
Thoughts on that?
He just said, I'm crushing Biden in the polls. That's true. I appreciate that question. Thank you. Brian, thank you very much. We are doing great in the polls. We have a campaign because they have no policies. The people are destroying our country. They're coming in by the millions and millions and millions.
This sounds great. The audio is terrific. I feel like I'm watching him right at Mar-a-Lago.
They have no policies that are good between.
I don't know. Infrastructure and the CHIPS Act and the rescue package and, removing lead pipes and, of course, canceling student debt. And, I think there's a lot of options, There's a lot of policies in there that are rock solid.
Afghanistan, high taxes, big inflation, everything they
big inflation isn't a policy. It's a result of COVID, where you shit the bed.
do is bad. They want to quadruple everyone's taxes.
No, they don't. Especially for people paying over 25%. I think, if that makes sense, I don't think they could do that.
There's no way that a man like this should be even allowed in government.
Well, he's been in government his entire life, so obviously something's terribly wrong.
As far as I'm concerned, he's a criminal. And what he's doing with this weaponry of the Justice Department,
Wait, the Justice Department has weaponry?
every single trial that you read about and that you report about, and generally fairly, every one of these trials is run by the DOJ and the White House. Every single one.
No, there's a lot of state shit. I mean, obviously, the documents case should be.
Including Fonnie, because her lover spent 8 hours, I think her lover Wade, spent 8 hours at least on numerous occasions each day working and coordinating with the White House. How do we hurt Trump so that maybe Biden can eke out a victory? I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the people are going to stand for it. I'm sure the people aren't going to stand for it.
No, you're not.
These people have weaponized government. They've weaponized the Justice Department. They've done something that nobody has ever done before in this country.
Sustained unemployment below 4% for 2 years straight, 39 straight months of job growth, something like that. Shit, in my lifetime passed an infrastructure bill?
It's done a lot in third world countries and banana republics, never in this country. And so
Just name one. Name a country that's a banana republic or a third world country. Just prattle off a name.
so far, based on the polls that came out today and over the last fairly long period of time, if you look back over the last 4 or 5 months, I'm leading every single poll, and I'm leading them by a lot.
Nope.
We are a nation in decline. Biden is the worst president in the history of.
Yeah, there used to be an airport back there. Look, it's totally collapsed. There's nothing. Those are not, like bulldozers and the like construction materials and stuff like that. That's not what that is. They're not adding on to this airport. it fell apart. Nobody's bothering to fix it. That is not new construction. That is old destruction. That's new destruction.
Our country. He's corrupt and he's incompetent.
Which is why he's so. That's why he's so uncorrupt. Like, he tries to be a criminal, but he's so, incompetent at it. He actually turns into a good guy. It's weird.
He can't put two sentences together, and I think we're going to have a tremendous victory.
He can't put two sentences together.
That Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Huh.
Predict that November 5th will go down as the most important day.
Yeah, it'll be the last day we have to deal with you for the rest of our lives. You're never running again. Game over. Goodbye. There is no Trump Act 3. Joe Biden has no interest in staying president for the rest of his life. He would be very happy to finish out a second term and retire and be the next Jimmy Carter in a lovely way. Trying to cure cancer and build houses. He'd be totally fine doing that. But you, sir, are over. As of November, that's the last we're hearing it from him. That's it. All done. Goodbye. Completely agree about the value of that day. The most important,
The history of our country, that's Election Day. It's going to be the most important day and moment in the history of our country. We're going to close up our borders, and we're taking all of the...
You do realize, again, until you don't actually become president until January, even in this theory, so you're not going to just insist on closing the border. Like, I'm president now, I just won. Fuck you. As of tonight, we're not counting the rest of these fucking votes. I won. That's called bullshit. As soon as I get ahead in any number at all, anywhere, just call it. Let's go.
The criminals out, because many of the people that came in, they came from jails, they came from insane asylums and mental institutions, many terrorists, many drug dealers at the highest level. They're all coming into our country.
Well, it's a great place. It's full of opportunity.
I predict that November 5th, it's all going to turn around. We're going to get...
I agree. November 5th is the end of Trump. For Democrats and Republicans, goodbye. Thank you, and don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
Our country back. This incompetent man that's president,
he is president. That's progress.
A terrible person. He's a terrible president. He's a Manchurian candidate if you look at him.
Do you have to look at him when you be able to read stuff and figure out somebody's a Manchurian? I don't know. How do you mean Manchurian? Because China's doing so well under his presidency?
Because he gets money from everybody.
Well, Manchurian candidate didn't even get money from China. It was a communist allegory, actually.
The Manchurian candidate. I predict that Biden is going to be gone. It's 6 months now. That's all we have. But 6 months is a long time because the damage he can do in 6 months, he's done more damage than the 10 worst presidents in the history of our country. There has never been anybody that's damaged our country like crooked Joe Biden.
You are outside right now. I mean, the area around you isn't on fire, right? You did see all the people like driving across country to see the eclipse, right? You do recognize that everywhere else, at some point, there's a huge difference between it's not perfect and we're in hell. Do you even remember the summer of 2020?
So I predict November 5th, the most important day in the history of our
of the Trump family, because that's the day Donnie's gone.
Country, and it's going to be Christian Visibility Day. Christian Visibility Day.
Right, you're going to find out how many actual Christians are out there. This asshole is not a Christian.
Are going to come out and they're going to vote like never before. Thank you.
What are you like never before? Jesus Christ, there used to be a lot more Christians in this country, and they all vote all the time, every time. Good Lord. Now normally we'd be all done, but can I show you a couple little pieces? I know I'm over time, but work with me on this. This is a trailer for a movie on This is a trailer for a movie on Frank's speech. and it's called Let My People Go. Let My People Go is a modern-day deliverance story rooted in biblical themes and archetypes. Well, I expect sort of an Easter story, don't you? Or is it perhaps about Jan 6ers? A film brought to you by slaves. Oh dear.
There's still a disconnect with most Americans that don't associate what happened.
Produced by the Anonymous. Obviously not anonymous, because I guess the anonymous few, something like that, because if you said Anonymous did it, they would shut down your servers or something.
On November 3rd, 2020, with January 6th. But the reality is everyone that's rotting in there right now is in there because of what happened on November 3rd.
No, well, because they saw what happened on November 3rd and then they decided to be violent.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no.
But how do you change that government?
Again, the idea, like, confidential sources are not agents, are not FBI agents. Even that clip is fucking lame. Directed by the censored. Get the fuck out of here. It's posted on the site. What do you mean, the censored? Nobody's stopping you. Put your fucking name on there, you wuss.
When our politicians are selected rather than elected.
Ooh, selected instead of elected. This is on Mike Pillow's channel, just for the record. Just to be clear.
When everyone is too scared to talk about the slave master that made it all possible.
The voting machine has turned us all into slaves. Okay, real quick. If you attack the Capitol on January 6th, and you're one of the select few that actually got arrested, and of that select few, you're one of the few that actually got sentenced because you were violent and you filmed yourself doing it and you're unrepentant about it and you didn't take a plea or any of that shit, you just decided, fuck you, if you let me out, Judge, I'll do it again for America and Donald Trump. First of all, you're an asshole, but on top of that, if you call yourself a slave, I honestly, my first reaction actually is to laugh in your face. This is pitiful.
It's an act of psychological warfare that you do.
It was an act of psychological warfare. I know, I talked to him from my bed.
The prisoners of war. We didn't know where we were going, why they were moving us.
So while the J6ers wear real chains,
no, they don't. They're in cells.
We continue to wear invisible ones.
What? We're I may be laying out here in a field and completely free to walk around and film this and pretend I can't use my name when I actually show my face on fucking camera, but I'm not really free.
Oh, how I dream of breaking through the feed that keeps us asleep.
What I'm saying is nobody's following the federal law, including the vendors.
In China in particular, the advanced persistent threats, some of them are massive organizations, larger than many U.S. defense organizations.
You're talking about advanced persistent threat level players.
On a scale.
Oh, this is like China stole the election. That's what this is. And that's why he's a slave, because, I don't know, buildings.
Scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most difficult. How easy is it to hack into these systems?
Can I go to a 0.5 instead of a 1?
Across the country, when you've got systems that are in use.
Yeah, okay. But you have paper in all of these. These are not ballot makers. They're ballot counters. Anyways, this is not surprising. This is just like a music video version of the idiocy that goes on in Mike Pillow's head all the time.
In these elections, you can't look at them. It's beyond belief. Absolutely. It was stolen because it never should have been certified.
Also, by the way, don't give me shit, YouTube and all these other satire. These, no, it wasn't. Just because you don't like how it turned out.
In the simplest of terms.
For the simplest of people, with the simplest of brains, the smoothest of brains.
We use
yeah.
proprietary machines that use programs to steal, shuffle.
Look at the chains. Basically, we are people in the villages in Florida. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Loot and plunder our most valuable property interest.
They're not the same ballots. That's a tallying machine. They're not the same ballots.
Our votes.
If Donald Trump's providential, aren't you providential?
Well, I mean, you mean because he's like a giant oozing landmass, or?
Ask yourself why you're here.
I think to spread joy and comedy and information, while I'm, gainfully employed doing something that I believe, helps the world and that kind of stuff. And, oh, you mean why am I standing out in a field full of dipshits arguing about an election that I lost? Yeah, I haven't done that. I wouldn't do that.
We are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the people.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
You cannot say that this went well, though.
Yeah, I can. It went well. Especially, I would say, because it happened during a pandemic, it went amazingly well.
These are lost votes.
They're not lost.
There's something wrong with our system.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the system that would allow somebody like Donald Trump to just get away with the criminality he was able to get away with for long enough just to run for office in the first place.
What's it said?
Today, I am here to overturn the money changers table.
This is a
I'm basically Jesus. You can tell by looking at me.
battle of good and evil. And there will come a day when you will sit before a higher judge.
Not only will we win, but I will spend the
Free the J6 political prisoners. This is obviously shot before the hostages thing.
rest of whatever years I have on this earth with my wife, with my children, praising God. And I'll encourage them and admonish them. You better keep.
I'll encourage them, admonish them. If you ever involved in a political gathering to try and, overturn an election, make sure you build a gallows and bring a gun. Always have a knife in your backpack, like Ashley Babbitt, Our Lady of Fuck Around and Find Out. And make sure that you bring enough meth for everybody so you don't OD and get trampled to death.
This alive. Keep the memory alive. Because I don't want to go back to hell.
You're not in hell. You fucking lazy, entitled piece of shit. Let my people go. Jesus Christ. When J6ers were in Mar-a-Lago, someone make them go. Honestly, they're too poor to be here. This is not the kind of people. Ugh. Just fucking gross. And meanwhile, let's see, real quick. On top of that, guess who's making their own version of a TYT movie? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Horseshoe Theater with Glenn Beck, Blaze Originals, bought and paid for. How Politicians Get Filthy Rich. Premieres tonight. Stacks of money, bad. Live on YouTube. I see. Okay.
Tonight we have another Blaze original.
Tonight.
And
because tonight, oh, we're gonna make it right. Tonight, oh. All right. Sorry, I'm done. I'm fine. You can't say tonight like 3 times. It makes me sing that. It's like Candyman.
This is so
stupid. Like an old talking point. So 2005.
It's going to really make you upset. It's going to make you mad.
No, I don't think it is. I think it'll make me laugh mostly if I even bother to watch it.
But maybe we'll get enough people to see it and they'll go,
probably not.
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't know this was going on to this.
Yeah. Most people who watch Glenn Beck on the regular are often shocked by even the fake facts being presented, much less facts at all. So maybe that's what you're talking about.
This extent. Do you know what Mitch McConnell's worth?
Not the paper he's written on. What?
$38.4 million.
Mm-hmm. Mostly it's his wife's money.
Much of that comes from nearly $30 million that he has in mutual funds, the largest of which is VOO, the asset name for the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF.
Right. It's just a market index. If the market goes up, you make money. It's a safe bet. It's non-specific.
Okay. The website weaponsfreefunds.org analyzes mutual funds for people who don't want to invest in military-industrial complex. So guess how they grade the mutual fund that Mitch McConnell is in?
An F. Let me guess. Because it has tech companies in it, and it has Boeing and whatever the fuck, because it's a fucking mutual fund.
D. Okay?
Oh, all right. All right. Better than an F, I guess.
Because they invest $30 billion invested in military contractors, including Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop, and many more. They have $24 billion invested in nuclear armament manufacturers, $11.2 billion invested in controversial weapons.
And no one can guess that the government will maintain and or increase funding in those areas at given times.
Weapons like cluster munitions, landmines, depleted uranium. So why does that matter?
Right.
Well, because Mitch McConnell can invest in things and then push for things that would make those investments go up.
Right, but he could also push for things that will make those investments go down.
When I show you the chart of how much these people are making and their returns compared to, like, the best hedge funds.
You mean like Jared Kushner? So what you're telling me is none of them have invested in Truth Social. Is that why he's doing this? Seriously. Like this is going to be the sales pitch going into the fall. If I may. Let's see. Hold on. We got to check in on it. Let's see. Truth Social stock price now. Let's see. Where is it? Get out of here. After announced investment went wild. Where is it? Quit it. I want those. I want this. Just give me the actual. Where is it? Excuse me one second. Closed down at 37.17. Oh, this is old. Yeah, hold on. Short selling, lost 58.2. Yeah. Anybody got the new number? Because I'm looking it up right now. I just want the live stock price. Is it so hard to find? Truth Social stock price. There should be like a direct registration required. Truth Social. I don't know what that. It'll be on Bloomberg or something. I'm teasing it. Yeah. Hold on. Chart. There we go. I'll open it on here. Which I'm continue reading. Why do I keep giving me USA Today? I don't need those. Do we have why is it hard? Like it gets harder to find the more it sucks. I feel like they're SEOing it out of existence. There it is. Yahoo Finance. according to Wall Street Journal. Panic is possible. None of these stories. Yeah, 34.26. Oh my God. All right, hold on. DJT stock price now. $34.26. Jesus. I'm trying to find the chart. I want to show you guys the chart again. And I had it open before, and I should have saved it open like a goofball, but I didn't because it's hilarious. Social stock chart live. That should do something like that. There we go. And the NASDAQ. Here we go. DJ. Oh, there we go. 34. Yeah, there she goes. Hold on. Let's shrink this shit down. Whoop. Good stuff. Oof. That's that. And that's today. That's fucking today. Lunchtime was terrible. A little bit of buyback at the end of the day, which is what they do. Let's get out of here. And then go overview. Where's my, give me 5 days. 5 days, it's down 28.25 in the last 5 days. Woof. Looking good. Looking real good. All right, then we go and where's this? This is dink, 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 dink. Get back here. All right, where were we? Oh, we're on this thing. Yeah, here you go.
You're going to lose your mind. You're going to lose your mind. Yesterday, Mitch McConnell came out and said leadership means standing up for America's interest in the Indo-Pacific, to Europe, to the Middle East. Right now, the House has the opportunity to pass an urgent national security supplemental. War for everybody.
War for everybody? Fuck you. Self-defense is not war. I don't want to hear any shit about Israel from you if you think Ukraine is engaged in a war against Russia. You fucking prick.
What he's advocating for is $95.5 billion. That's $60.1 billion more to Ukraine military aid and $14.1 billion for Israeli military aid, which means we say we're giving them the old stuff. Well, yeah, so then we give that to them, and then we take this money and we invest it with Lockheed and
And what do they do with it, Glenn? What do they give us in return? They just keep it? They just give him a slice, and then they don't make anything?
Which makes him richer.
It also makes you richer. Because I guarantee Glenn Beck has the same mutual funds. And by the way, maybe he sold his stock and he's fucking pissed. How do I know that Glenn Beck hasn't invested in, directly in an exchange system, in a foreign exchange system for that's money for arms, that's an under the table investment scheme that they have over there, and he's dumped a bunch of money into it? How do I know? I mean, he's telling his people that this is, that like betting on the defense industry in a volatile world post-COVID is obviously some sort of scam, as opposed to just being aware of that's how shit works.
Tonight, we're going to show you, this is an amazing, amazing show. I'm doing the pre-show at 8 p.m.
Very excited. Sorry.
It's preempting my Wednesday night special.
Oh, good.
8
So you're telling us it's not special. I could have told you.
p.m. Eastern, a live pre-show event featuring Unusual Whales. This is the anonymous X account. We can't show his face. We can't tell you his name, but his voice will be on. He is the main guy that is exposing Democrats and Republicans in Congress. Also, James Polis, who is from Blaze TV. He's the host of this particular Blaze documentary.
Oh, is this going to be? Are you doing this because you're incredibly devoid of Joe Biden investments that are problematic? He's got a lot of clean investments and he doesn't need any more money, and you don't understand that at all. So,
and
so you're just going to point fingers elsewhere.
After the pre-show where I asked them some questions and show you some shocking things that were left on the cutting room floor, then we premiere.
Why would you leave shocking things on the cutting room floor?
Live, bought and paid for, how politicians get filthy rich. This is critical for you to understand.
So probably watching it will not help.
Because when you do, you'll start to understand, oh, well, they're not really looking out for me.
Right. Not for me. First of all, A, you think this is new. B, you're totally fine with this shit when your side is on the up.
They've passed laws, just like Thomas Massey was saying, carve out for them. They can deal in inside information. They can be on a...
What are you talking? That's not what that's about. The carve out he was talking about was about FISA getting a heads up if they're on a list of people interacting with criminals. We know that. That's bad. That's ham-handed and stupid. But it's also out in the open. It would be in the text of the fucking bill. It's one of the reasons why nobody's going to vote for it. It's one of the reasons it's guaranteed to fail. Because while a lot of these assholes might like that, and certainly the maggots in the Freedom Caucus fucking need it to stay out of jail in the future, nobody else wants to sign their name to this. If you guys are looking at me, let me know. Give me a heads up. Other people, fuck them. But if I show up on one of these lists, you got to give me a fucking phone call so I can shuffle some shit around.
Committee and know exactly how a vote is going, and then go invest in that company knowing that the stock is gonna go up. That's insider trading.
I don't suppose you'd be focusing on Nancy Pelosi at all, because her net worth has only gone up by $140 million.
Because she's in Silicon Valley during the largest tech expansion in human history. I got to be honest. If you have any money to invest and you're anywhere around the halls of power or prestige in San Francisco, somebody's going to give you a tip on a piece of software that might crash, but it might also go well. Think of all the shit that's fallen apart. Think of all the companies you could invest in Silicon Valley that have eaten shit.
Since 2008.
Right, when her money has been in, again, an index fund on tech-related stuff around businesses in San Francisco, adding money to them and gaining if it does well for them, they do. She does well. If they don't, she's screwed.
And Paul.
Paul's just a brilliant investor.
And how did that happen?
Yeah.
How did he get to be such a brilliant investor?
Yeah.
I don't know, proximity to Silicon Valley and a look towards the future as opposed to investing in oil and Coca-Cola.
Where did he get the information?
He wasn't
always, before.
Yeah,
no.
He wasn't.
I mean, he was rich, but he wasn't 171 million rich.
Right.
Right. And Google was big, but it wasn't, $1 trillion big.
Well, it's no secret. She can invest in companies that she is passing legislation on. So if there's...
And she can invest in companies that Donald Trump can veto the legislation for them. Or it can get to to Mitch McConnell in the Senate and he can kill it.
There's a war. They know there's coming a war. They're going to have a big...
Yeah, they know there's coming a war.
Spending bill. Mm-hmm. They know that they're going to
I wonder if I should invest in...
How do they know there's coming a war? They know there's coming a war?
Raytheon.
Right. Huh. I wonder if I should invest in Google. What is the government doing? Should I invest in this? Should I sell this? She'll know it all.
And she's against stopping any of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wait until you hear her statements on it. It is incredible. Tonight,
no doubt.
8 p.m. Eastern, the live pre-show event.
Hey, you know what? There's insider trading. And then there's selling national secrets. You want to put her 1-to-1 against Donald Trump sometime on how he's making money off what he gets from inside the government?
And you don't want to miss that.
I kind of do.
Bought.
I mean, I'm fine just doing the trailer and your bullshit.
And paid for. How politicians get
yeah, you said the name already.
filthy rich. Streaming live tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Streaming live? I think you're doing an opening for it, which is live, and then you're just playing it. It's a movie. What do you...
BlazeTV.com. Join it.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there. Anyways, thanks, chat. I just thought we'd jump right in. That was a short little piece, so it was a little morsel. Most of the shit I do is so goddamn long. I figure if I'm going long, I'll just try to keep it tighter than usual. But point being is that the whole purpose behind that clip, just so you know, that demo he's doing and that little preamble that he's going to shoot today that goes for when they release this schlockumentary he's putting out, all that is because they have completely failed to tie foreign money to Joe Biden, and that is just shit the bed. And Donald Trump has all these connections to foreign money and that are going to come out over the next few months, especially. And Jared Kushner's ties to the fucking Saudis and all that, their big sovereign wealth fund and all that stuff is really creepy. So what they're trying to do is create this everybody does it smoke screen. That's what that's for. This is manufactured whataboutism. Preemptive attack. That's what it's for. But what am I for? I'm for you, America. That's right. And I hope at some point you will find it within your heart to like and subscribe to the show in some way that, we'll find some, it in your heart where you can just look down that little button.
You're watching House Sparks Megaworldwide, and we're glad you're along for the ride. Every day hell is here by your side, so please would you like and subscribe? Oh, beware of the kidney. Oh, beware of the kidney. You are watching House Sparks Megaworldwide, and we're glad you're along for the ride. Every day.
Right on! On that note,
manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
Lumpy pillows, kiss my ass.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat PP2. I really do want to see the server.
No perverts.
Real bipartisan solutions. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. Yosemite. That's amazing. How did you do that?
A chat with you and somehow death loses its sting.
Something strange happened to me this morning. Was it a dream where you see yourself standing in sort of sun god robes on a pyramid with 1,000 naked women screaming and throwing little pickles at you? No. Why am I the only person that has that dream?
We're going to raid Midas right now, everybody. Get ready and tell them I send my love. I think we'll have more people raiding than they actually do have in their chat. So you're welcome. See you guys tomorrow.
If you will, and what really